Previously in The Chase.
You ready? Go, 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 go. Oh, we got trouble getting in three, guys. And Joey Logano is around. End over end, side over side. I don't know how to say sorry enough to Joey.
You're going to have to deal with this 5-car before this day's over with.
Watch this 42 coming up behind here, but pretty quick. Just keep your eyes open.
And Jimmy Johnson wins it at Dover.
That's right, boys. Maximum points. Thank you. Nice work, Johnson. Nice work. It's all about desire. You got to have a want to get this thing done here this year.
12 drivers. But already, the Iceman cometh. He's closed within a whisper of the outright lead, his cold stare fixated on unprecedented glory. But with experience in front and nothing to lose behind, the defending champ enters the heartland a marked man. They say familiarity breeds contempt. Here, velocity breeds danger.
Here comes Jimmy Johnson. And a ball in the wall. Oh, wow. And Johnson will take the car.
That's a finish right there, boy.
As the pack begins to thin, so too your chances to turn what you need into what you desire.
Desire for these drivers is a win at the Kansas Speedway today. And for the 12 chasing the championship, it's to take a step closer to holding the cup. To do that, all the many elements of a successful race have to be executed to perfection. The car holding that very edge of control at top speed. The pit crew, fast but flawless. They're ready to go. Greg Biffle's pit crew getting fired up. And for the drivers as they get buckled in, time for them to get up on the wheel. As the racers say, get on top of it and give everything they have. Over 400 miles at Kansas Speedway, hoping for a trip to victory lane. And in the case of the championship contenders, hoping for the opportunity to close ground on Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson in the chase for the Sprint Cup. Time to go trackside for the command to start them up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome McKeever's Price Chopper Store Director Ken Blair as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
How about crank it up here? Crank it up. Marcus, a lot of guys are running beginning, and just stay on me about backing my corners up. It's a lot hotter today.
Always a great moment at the racetrack when they fire them up. You know, we're in Kansas and I haven't made a single Wizard of Oz reference yet. So let's click our heels 3 times and send it upstairs to Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie, and Dr. Jerry Punch for the call of the race. Doc, take it away.
Thank you very much, Alan. Hello, everyone. Glad to have you with us. Folks, after 2 races in the chase, just 189 points separate the 12 championship contenders. And, guys, after the way Jimmy Johnson has performed in the postseason the last couple of years, is it too early today for maybe some of these guys, maybe 10th on back, to consider gambling?
No, absolutely not. I think it's really time. The Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, and Brian Vickers, already 150 points back or more. They have to do everything. I mean, everything they can to try to win races and post some top 3 finishes if they're going to have a shot at all. I mean, nobody yet in 3 years has been able to beat Jimmy Johnson in a conventional way. I don't know how they're going to do it. They got to try everything.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd push the panic button yet, but you're going to have to do everything you possibly can. I mean, driving harder, taking some spots on the racetrack, and taking some chances on the racetrack that you might not normally do, especially late in the race, taking some chances on pit road. The goal that you have to have every single time right now is to beat the 5 and the 48, and you have to do whatever it takes to do that.
Guys, in the 8 Sprint Cup races we've had here, we have seen it all. Multi-car crashes, gas gamblers coasting by on fumes, and last year that last lap Hail Mary pass. What is it about this place that lends itself to so much craziness?
Well, we've been talking about this unique layout for a mile and a half, not having as much banking as a lot of tracks, and it really does set itself up for 3-4 wide racing as the race really wears out there and you get the groove of wide and out. Now, we saw yesterday Joey Logano making a move to the outside, making a pass for the lead late in the race, and I think that's one of the things that this track offers for drivers.
Yeah, it really does. It doesn't have a lot of banking, only 15 degrees, a lot of speed, though, but not a lot of grip to be had out there. The seams out here have tar in them. They have to go across this. That makes the car slide around quite a bit. We're going to see them utilize the entire racetrack here today. That's what makes it so much fun here in Kansas.
Guys, it couldn't get much scarier or much crazier than what happened 1 week ago at Dover, Delaware to rookie Joey Logano. Lap 31, multi-car crash, chain reaction, and Logano's car goes over and over and over 8 times, side over side, and the good news is Joey walked away physically okay. And here's the better news, folks. Today we're going to have a camera and microphone inside his car here in Kansas as our in-race reporter. Now, all week long, DJ, guys been talking about, can a 19-year-old emotionally recover from what happened a week ago, but he may have answered some of those questions here yesterday.
Yeah, I think you're right, Doc, but let's ask Joey. Hey, Joey, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
10-4, I got you.
Hey, Joey, I believe you answered most everyone's questions about how you would handle last week's situation when you drove to victory in yesterday's nationwide race. Congratulations on that. But I would like for you to tell us how you've prepared maybe differently this past week, both mentally and physically, in getting ready for this race.
To me, the wreck wasn't a real big deal. You know, I mean, it is what it is. It's over and kept moving on. I didn't really think much about it. Just kept on plugging along, doing my normal deal.
Joey, did you find anything from that accident last week inside your race car that made you change anything there?
Oh, Joe Gibbs Racing did a great job putting together a real safe race car for me, and actually didn't change anything. Same deal right here.
As you've been able to watch that this entire week, different times, were you still amazed that you're able just to walk away and be here this week?
Yeah, that's the good thing about this new Cup car they came out with. They're tough to drive, but they're real safe, so that's the good part.
Hey, is it fair to say that you enjoyed the attention from your first Sprint Cup win in Loudon earlier this year more than you have watching or been a part of the highlight reels this past week?
Yes, the sad part is I probably got more notoriety out of the wreck than the win, the sad part.
All right, man, let's talk about today. It looked like your car was pretty good in that final practice yesterday. Do you have a car that you can contend for a victory here today?
Yeah, but we'll have to see. It seems like we can take off and run a pretty good lap. It seems like we just fall off too quick on the long run. So I know we've tried a few things to try to help that, going back and forth in practice, trying to find the right balance for that. I don't know. Zippy will figure that out for us during the race.
All right, Joey, thanks for talking with us, and have a fun and mostly very safe day, buddy.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it.
Joey Logano will start 20th today, and folks, he was 6th fastest in final practice, so look out. This 19-year-old could come roaring back and win both here in Kansas Speedway. Cars are rolling here at Kansas Speedway. We mentioned we will have an onboard camera in Joey Logano's car, as well as 7 other onboards, including 2 chase contenders, Kasey Kahne and Jimmie Johnson. Let's update you on some of the stories we'll be following today, beginning with Shannon Spake.
Brad Keselowski rolls off 3rd today in his 6th start for Hendrick Motorsports, and this is a very optimistic team. Crew Chief Tony Eury Jr. told me, hey, listen, we're starting up front. We've got a great pit selection, and the nationwide crew is pitting our car. He said if we don't get a top 5, we will be disappointed today. Jamie?
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. brought the fans to their feet in his impressive qualifying effort on Friday. This team is hopeful in the performance of this race car today. And on Friday, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was very optimistic in talking about his crew chief and their future together, saying Lance McGrew has been great. He believes in the success together, and he hopes he's back next year. Dave?
In NASCAR racing, drivers hold the trump card when it comes to decisions on final adjustments. So crew chief Brian Patty was surprised yesterday when Juan Pablo Montoya told him, whatever you guys think. That shows his confidence in his team and his relaxed mood right now. Vince?
Greg Biffle, 9th in points, terms the beginning of the chase for he and his team as very disappointing, and that's what puts a premium on a strong run here today at Kansas. The first challenge that this team is going to face is its starting position. 31st here today. Crew Chief Greg Irwin says they expect it to take 2/3 of the race to get out of that hole. They got to be clean coming up through the pack to have a chance in that final third. Doc?
Thanks, guys. Our over-the-wall camera today will be worn by Robbie Gordon's front tire changer, Mark Holly. Hollywood Armstrong. And Hollywood, fuel mileage very critical here at Kansas.
Doc, it is. We always talk about tire changers, tire carriers, and jackman. But when you come to Kansas, you're not going to go through the day without talking about fuel mileage. It's not the gas that we get in the car, but the gas that we might not get in the car to be able to win the race. Doc?
Thank you, Hollywood. We'll be watching. Got to have a good gas man. Got to get every single drop in it here on those pit stops. This broadcast is available in Spanish by activating your SAP button, presented by ESPN Deportes. Folks, glad to have you with us on a beautiful autumn day here in Kansas City, Kansas, as they are lined up on the front row there. Mark Martin, the pole sitter. Let's listen in.
All right, boys, nice job on this piece this week as always. Let's get 267 of our best. Focus, fight hard, be in good shape here.
Mark Martin, a 5-time winner here this year. He has won at this racetrack back in 2005. Beside him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. It has been 49 races since Earnhardt Jr. has gone to victory lane. He has not led a lap since Michigan in August, and it was in this car. Who will it be? Lap 1 as Mark Martin brings him down to the green flag.
You can see Dale Jr. didn't want any part of that outside lane going into turn 1. He really let Mark Martin have that start and they'll be able to lead this lap and get those 5 bonus points.
Kasey Kahne in a bit of a battle back for 4th position up high, and will try to get to the outside and take that spot away from Brad Keselowski.
We'll tell you, these guys are looking at a racetrack that they haven't seen this entire weekend. Sunshine, a lot higher track temperature. They're going to really be searching around here, seeing what their car is going to do for these first few laps.
Well, his crew chiefs are going to be intently listening to their drivers' comments now because of that track
trouble off of 2.
Car spinning off of turn 2. It is Joey Logano, yesterday's winner, and our in-race reporter, unfortunately,
just get it rolling here.
Doesn't come across and hit the inside wall, so they'll get it refired.
Again, it just got really loose. Sorry, just roll slow here. Make sure we don't blow a tire and rip fender off here.
Got a left rear tire down and left front going down, so he's lucky he didn't hit anything.
Yeah, he's real lucky, but he does have to be careful getting him back to the pit stall. But real early in the race.
Tires coming through this time.
Yeah, they need to get
it even back anyways. Just make sure we don't get ourselves in trouble here, Mark, okay?
Yeah, even if the pit road's closed, he needs to come on down this time just to get these tires off of there.
And see, he's up in that very high groove here to start. There's not a lot of grip to be had. I don't think the left rear tire was an issue before that.
Well, he slid a long way right here, and that usually will flat spot the tires and blow them out.
Lap 2, Logano running in 20th spot, and as you said, DJ, up across the top of the racetrack, just snapped around on him.
You see, he rolls in through the center here. He gets back to the throttle. He's going to try to go to the outside of Bill Elliott.
Still there, Denny. You got to hold behind Denny.
It's going to probably take a little bit of time to get some more rubber. Even though they haven't had any rain or anything since yesterday's race, there wasn't a lot of action up in that part of the track yesterday.
From Marcus Ambrose onboard camera, right side of your screen, boy.
Right in front of you, stay low. There you go. All clear, keep coming.
The combination of those tar strips you can see right there and a dirty racetrack and a green racetrack, I mean, this is all stacking up against Joey, and plus him being so high on the racetrack.
Joey Logano wasn't in that car, but the last 2 years at 20 cars finished 39th and 40th here. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Want a chance to win $10,000? Put your NASCAR knowledge to the test with the ESPN Pick 12 Challenge. Go to ESPN.com/Pick12 and guess the order the 12 chase drivers will finish next week at California. We'll announce who picked this week's order in the first 30 laps of the Pepsi 500, so make sure you watch. This week's winner who picked the correct order from Dover is Phyllis C. from Conway, Arkansas. So congratulations to Phyllis from Conway, Arkansas. Getting set for the restart here at Kansas Speedway. Mark Martin, our leader. Joey Logano came out on off pit road, is back on the racetrack after a change of 4 tires at the back of the pack, and also Sam Hornish came in for a tire change.
Jamie McMurray got a lot better start this time than the initial start.
See Kasey Kahne trying to follow in there.
See McMurray's car wobble down there, got on that white line on the bottom of the racetrack, now slides back up in behind Earnhardt Jr., who also wobbles coming off the corner.
Yeah, Tony Stewart to the apron here with 3 wide.
About 12 degrees warmer than it was yesterday and about 10 degrees warmer than it was in qualifying on Friday. A different racetrack, much slicker for these competitors, but they're going to have to hang
again
on.
Off turn 2. It's like Paul Menard.
3 cars involved this time. Make it 4.
Hey guys, we got caught up in it. He tried to get down and they carried him off of him.
See Joey Logano getting through there to 71. Bobby Labonte involved. Menard sitting on the racetrack trying to get that refired. Max Pappas involved. There is Bobby Labonte, the former Cup champion.
Split is rolled up, Paul. Left front, split is rolled up.
Flat tires, hit it pretty flush with the driver.
There's Max Pappas. He was involved, but his car looks okay.
Had to slide sideways. A 6 car of David Reagan.
He's got some work to do.
Damage on the left side and also the right front shoved in.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte got probably the worst end of that.
There, Michael Waltrip's got some right front damage also.
See, Bobby's still trying to make his way to the pits.
What a shame for this team. It's just trying to get by on a shoestring budget. They had finally gotten a car that was less than a year and a half old to run here for the first time this year. Let's see what happened to Menard coming off turn 2.
Almost the exact same thing we saw happen to Logano.
It's been the trouble spot, it seems, between the center of turn 1 to the exit of turn 2 the entire week here.
You see Kyle Busch makes a, man, he just barely missed that. Still missing it.
Wow, that was a great job by Kyle Busch for sure.
You also see Joey Logano try to snake through. He was at the back of this pack. There's a contact. Michael Waltrip and Bobby Labonte. David Reagan gets the other side of Labonte.
Yeah, Reed Sorensen in the 43 just snuck by there also.
And Logano just does get through, picking his way through right along with Joey.
Stay low, stay low, stay low, stay low, stay low. Right on the apron there.
Actually gets into the back of Elliott Sadler there. See it wrinkle the bumper. I don't know if Joey has any front end damage.
Marcus Ambrose on board.
Door, quarter, bumper, clear. All clear. Right in front of you, stay low, stay low. Clear. Caution's out, caution's out.
And here's Reed Sorensen you were talking about, DJ.
Stay low, 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 low. Keep going.
He unfortunately kind of forced Michael's hand because he was there and Michael couldn't take evasive action to go to the inside and got caught up in it.
We've got a few cars making pit stops here.
Brian Vickers in, Kyle Busch in.
Yeah, Logano, I see him working on the front end of his car where he got into the back of Elliott Sadler there. Jamie?
You see Kyle Busch right there. He already came in and made a stop. He said he ran over some debris as a precautionary. They came in and put 4 new tires on him.
He was already in the pretty far back in the line there, so that was a good move to get in there and just get the tires off. Don't want to take a chance on going back green and having a flat tire.
They're working on the front of that 20 car, Joey Logano, where they had the contact. And there's the 98's tires. Doesn't take much at these speeds when you get sideways just to totally take the rubber off, and those tires explode. Paul Menard still in the pits, and we are under caution for the second time today. Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, and Matt Kenseth are driving Fords, and you could be too. Go to I'mDriving1.com to hear what the stars of Ford Racing have to say and register to win your own 2010 Ford Taurus. We are under caution for the second time a day here. An incident involving 5 cars, and guys in the pit studio, Alvin, Rusty, and Brad, this racetrack already a handful.
Hey, you know, Doc, when we were talking with Jimmy Johnson in the pit studio during NASCAR Countdown, he and Rusty were chatting about some of those tar strips on the racetrack. And Rusty, you think that that may be a factor here?
I really think it is a factor right now early, guys. I really do. I mean, they don't have any vision. When you're in the car, you're bumper to bumper with the guy in front of you, and you really can't see those tar strips right now. And I really think that with them has caused these guys a problem, especially on the restarts. And it might be another problem on the double file restarts as the race goes on.
And we have a relatively warm day here as compared to what we've had the past 2 days, and this is the flattest 1.5 mile track that we go to, 15 degrees in the corners. So that speed, along with the strips in the sun, it's going to create slick conditions.
And just something else to point out, remember we talked to Kurt Busch starting back in 39th and some of the things he might encounter on his way through traffic? Well, Kurt was behind that wreck. He's in the shadow there, the spotlight, and had to find a way to slow down and keep from getting his Dodge wrinkled up. Coming through it, that's Kurt and the 2 on the high side there.
Wow,
yeah, great job out of Kurt.
Yeah, he's advancing through attrition.
All right, time for the restart, Doc.
Getting set. By the way, cars from 28th on back did come on the pit road. We had 14 cars come in, aside from those 5 involved in the incident. Mark Martin getting set to restart. Dale Earnhardt Jr. beside him. Double file. Keselowski and McMurray in row 2. This time Dale Jr. hangs there, trying to hang on the outside and be able to get that run off of turn 2.
And he gets a good run off of turn 2. He's got Mark Martin by nose getting down to turn 3.
I think we could have a new leader at the line here.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has not led a lap in a Cup race since the middle of August, and he's led only 6 laps since April at Talladega. But he will come down here and lead this lap in Kansas.
They've got a car smoking out ahead of them. That's the car of David Reagan, who still has a lot of damage. They weren't able to fix all of that.
They're going to black flag him and bring him on the pit road to get him down away from the leaders as they come by. Earnhardt Jr., Keselowski, and Mark Martin, 3 Hendrick cars, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. McMurray is 4th, and Casey Kane is 5th. There's Juan Pablo Montoya trying to work his way by Matt Kenseth. Right in behind the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. That is 11th, 12th, and 13th.
See, Jimmy Johnson's working up the racetrack a little bit. About a groove and a half higher than most of the other cars. Right now it's working pretty good for him. Moving by David Rudiman right here.
All the footage that we've pretty much shown from last year's race here was these guys racing from the middle to the top, and the guys that won, including Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards, that were right up front. That's where they ran most of the race.
See Jeff Gordon right in front of him, as both these cars now in the top 10 and 7th and 8th.
Let's watch Jimmy Johnson here. You know, Rusty was talking about those tire patches where the seams are put together. They've got such a big hole, they had to put tar in there. Jimmy Johnson, I think, has really worked hard at making his car work in between these as much as possible. You're going to have to cross over them at some point in time, but it's really critical where you do that. And as we watch Jimmy, he tries to keep all the tires below, or he'll straddle these seams, and I think that's very important.
Right in front of him is Jeff Gordon, the only 2-time winner here at Kansas Speedway. Let's check in his pits with Shannon.
Well, there certainly has been some action on the track so far today. A lot of cautions. Jeff Gordon did have some insight as to what might be going on. He had this to say to Steve Letarte.
They're having a hell of a time off, too. That looked kind of like the same thing. They had somebody get up a lane, like you're saying, and they couldn't hold it on exit.
Yeah, I got out there, I squirted through the middle, and then there's just a spot over there that is just like, has no grip.
And you can see Jeff Gordon straddling that white line. Steve Letarte says he likes to run underneath those seams, the seams on the racetrack that go around the racetrack. He says when Gordon does get his tire onto one of the seams, it's almost like driving down the highway when your car goes off the track. So he really likes to stay on the bottom. Right now, that 24, a little bit tight in and loose off.
Thank you, Shannon. Battle for 13th. Left side of your screen is Carl Edwards and Montoya battle back and forth. DJ, when they came here 9 years ago, these drivers said this was a 1-groove racetrack. But in the past couple of years, it had widened out to 2 and 3 grooves. And I guess thus far today, if you get much off the bottom of the racetrack, it's very hairy.
Yeah, but we're going to see this widen out as the day progresses. And even in this run, if we get some green flag racing, we're going to see guys get up close to the wall. This was a 1-groove racetrack, but that was because that's where the grip was and the fastest way around. You had plenty of grip. You don't have that now. These guys will be searching to see what can make their car perform the best.
It's like Kyle Busch is looking for any groove he can find. He's passing them high, low, wherever he catches them.
There's Kurt Busch in front of him, his brother, coming from 39th position. You see Montoya, left side of your screen, and Matt Kenseth for 12th position. So Montoya slowly but surely working his way toward the top 10.
I'm surprised that upper groove has come in as early as it has. We didn't see that yesterday in the nationwide race. It seemed like it took almost the whole race for that second groove, and the third groove really never came in that good.
And I think it has a lot to do, the lack of horsepower that those guys have, all the power that these cars have, and the less amount of downforce for these guys as we see Jimmie Johnson going around Jeff Gordon on that high side. I think they have to utilize more of the racetrack with these cars.
Jimmie Johnson taking another spot now, moving up to 7th position. Vince.
Well, Jimmy had radioed in and said that the car was sliding the front end, so he was using the throttle off the turns, and really the only feedback he'd given in regards to the handling of the car was tight. But as the guys upstairs, you mentioned how he was running between the grooves, and Jimmy doesn't seem to be having any problem on that higher line. But tight is the feedback from Jimmie Johnson.
Thank you, Vince. Someone probably thinks, need to tell Juan Pablo Montoya this race is 267 laps, not 27 laps, because he is on the move in that 42 car.
Yeah, that used to be a news flash, but that's not any big news anymore. These guys are on their game, and Montoya is doing a great job. He's passing these cars mostly on the high side, but he is moving forward.
Yeah, look how fast he's catching this group right here. I mean, he just blows right by Ruderman.
I've never had such bad grip in my life.
Might want to try that groove Montoya's running.
Well, he got up there in a little bit of the danger zone coming off turn 2. You see Jimmie Johnson now making a pass on the 9 of Kasey Kahne, and Montoya gives the 24 a little bit of a shove.
Yeah, I think Jeff was wanting to have to go to the inside, but Montoya wasn't having any of that. Dave?
And right now, guys, his car is just a little bit tight. Remember that relaxed attitude that we talked about before they went green here today? Even Brian Patty knows that they're not going to necessarily outrun at this point the 5 and the 48. They just need to beat them, 3 or 4 times this year and hope they have a mistake. He says, I'm a realist, and as long as we keep putting the pressure on them, we've still got a chance.
Well, they got a car to put the pressure on today. Now, I'm telling you, Montoya's on the move.
See Brian Pratty left side of your screen. They keep building new cars. They had a new car last week at Dover. They got a brand new car here at Kansas. This team came into this chase very well prepared. Well, up front, folks, leading the race and pulling away. How about this? Dale Earnhardt Jr. It has been 49 races going back to June of 2008 since he's won a race. Been a while since he's led, but right now he is showing the way here at Kansas. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the leader here in the Price Chopper 400 at Kansas. Lap 27 of 267, and Jimmie Johnson continues to motor toward the front. He's going by that 14 car of Tony Stewart to take away the 5th position.
Yeah, he's really the only one with the lap times that are close to Dale Jr.'s.
The only thing they have to be careful of, especially this first run, running up that high, is wearing that right rear tire out if it goes green for a long time. The track not having any rubber up there is really going to be abrasive on that right rear.
We just joined our coverage. We had 2 caution flags, one on lap 2 for the spin by Joey Logano, and a 5-car incident on lap 7. We have been green since then, and typically, DJ, at this racetrack, we do see a lot of long green flag runs.
Yeah, as we see now, the track really widened out. You have 3 distinct grooves, the bottom, the middle, and the top. We see these guys racing 3 wide right here. Bill Elliott down on the inside. Whoa, that was close with Reed Sorensen coming out of turn 4. But you'll get a lot of green flag races because they have a lot of different, they're not having to run into each other to make passes. You have plenty of room. Even though they still go 3 wide, you'd think that might create a situation. But these guys are professionals.
They indeed are. You see Ryan Newman there in 21st position, and behind him, right side of your screen, all the way from 39th starting spot, comes that 2 car of Kurt Busch.
I think that's pretty impressive that Kurt Busch has moved up without having to take any gambles yet, Andy, as we see Jimmie Johnson then on his teammate Mark Martin.
That's the best way to get that track position, the old-fashioned way. Just pass them. There goes Jimmy passing Mark Martin.
Principals from last week's Dover race had finished 1st and 2nd, Johnson and Martin. And now the 48 takes over that position and starts to move in on Jamie McMurray.
You really say, watch Jimmie Johnson really concentrate on keeping it through the corners in particular, keeping his car in between those seams or either straddling them if he gets himself in that position. But very seldom will you see him get the right side or the left side totally on one of those seams. See, now he's going to the bottom.
Like driving on uneven pavement on the interstate. When they pave one lane, you don't want to ride right there in the seam. You want to cross it quickly or get back across it quickly, not to disturb your car. Two car now moving right up on the 21 of Bill Elliott and Newman. That's 19th, 20th, and 21st.
So Kurt Busch making a pass on the apron, actually, coming down the front straightaway. These guys will utilize that apron at times here and trying to make a pass and get away from another car. There is no out of bounds here, so that is totally legal.
There's the 18 of Kyle Busch, who had been on pit road on lap 8. Made a pit stop and changed tires and made an adjustment on the car. He's now trying to work his way back into the top 20. He's being shown in 23rd position. Of all the 1.5-mile racetracks that the NASCAR Sprint Cup cars run on, Andy, this is the least banked. Only 15 degrees in the corners. Then comes Chicagoland at 18 and on up to Charlotte, Atlanta, and Texas, which is 24. But this one, for a crew chief, really poses a challenge with so little banking.
It really is unique when it comes to racetracks. And here comes Tony Stewart now on the outside. We've seen him. He's kind of been married to the bottom of the racetrack, and now I see him moving up. Mark Martin's going to have to start thinking about that, Dave.
Yes, they are. And actually, they made a few changes overnight that Alan Gustafson told me. We've run all these things on the car before. We just haven't run them all at the same time. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get. Right now, just a little loose off the corner for Mark. Mark radioing in. We might try tightening it up. I don't want to get it too tight, but we might try that.
Right side of your screen, Jimmie Johnson trying to make a move and take that third spot away from McMurray. Left side, you see the battle to try to get toward the top 20. Reed Sorensen looking back at Kyle Busch.
Yeah, Jamie Murray kind of has Jimmie Johnson's groove there, so Jimmy's having to go more towards the bottom of the racetrack to see if he can make this pass.
This is the home track for McMurray, who grew up in Joplin, Missouri. Talked about Clint Bowyer being from Emporia, Kansas, and Carl Edwards being from Columbia, Missouri. The third driver from this area is McMurray. Boy, would he love to have a good top 5 finish or maybe to win it here in the home state.
There's Jimmy. Looks like he's finally going to be able to make the pass. He got a good run off of turn 4 on Jamie McMurray to take over that third spot.
In fact, Stewart's going to follow through.
See if he can make it stick right there. I don't think he might make it.
Not off 2.
Just not enough grip and not enough forward bite for Tony to make the pass right then.
Tony Stewart just dives it in there and runs right in on McMurray, and then coming off the corners like they put out a parachute behind the car. But now he'll try to stay up high, see if he can use that high lane, but so does McMurray. 38 laps in, and back up front it is Dale Earnhardt Jr. showing the way. If you just joined our coverage, Mark Martin, the pole sitter, led the first 11 laps. And then Dale Earnhardt Jr. took over and has led the last 26. Jamie.
Well, if you look at the practice times at 24th, 13th, and 20th overall, you could be surprised by the way he's running. Obviously, the sun is playing into it. But Lance McGrew told me in qualifying, Jr. moved around a little bit and avoided that seam you guys keep talking about through 3 and 4. He said the car was so consistent, didn't upset it at all. That's where he's sticking now. You see him moving up. He's starting to go into that high line. Right now, he says he's just a little bit tight, rolling through the center.
Talk about the high line and the low line. You see it right there. McMurray up high. And again, that 5 car hanging at the bottom of the racetrack, Mark Martin.
Well, that's where he feels like his car is the best right now. And he's not going to take any chances to move. And we see him. It's the shorter way around, so he can make this. Now he's going to do a slide job on Jamie McMurray.
Pretty good battle waging here. Marcos Ambrose in the 47 car and Clint Bowyer in the 33. That's 14th and 15th. Bowyer very good in final practice session on Saturday afternoon. Thought he would have a very good car, or a good consistent car here in race trip.
Yeah, I talked to some of the guys in the garage area this morning with the 33 team, and they felt like that they had a good chance of getting a top 5 finish today. Said their car was pretty good. They didn't think they had much for the 48 car, maybe the 5 car, but felt like they had a good enough car to get a top 5.
Toyota and a Dodge battling here, the 00 of David Rudiman, already a winner this year on a 1.5-mile track at Charlotte. Trying to hold off the 9 of Casey Kane, who's only had one top 10 finish here at this racetrack, and right now they are both running in the top 10 at 7th and 8th. Back up front, using that high line, is the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And back in second position, there comes Brad Keselowski, making only his 12th career start in a NASCAR Sprint Cup car and only his 10th start this year.
Yeah, but he was very confident about his chances here today. I mean, he wasn't talking just having a good run. He seriously thinks he can win this race, and there's no reason for him not to. He had a great race yesterday, and showing here today that they were very confident with their car after final practice yesterday.
There's Tony Eury Jr. there, the crew chief, former crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. By the way, Brad Keselowski has only led one lap all year, and that was at Talladega, and he won the race. Right now, it is Dale Earnhardt Jr., our leader here at Kansas. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. The heavyweights from Hendrick Motorsports getting it done here in the Heartland. Take a look at those 5 cars, all in the top 11. I should say top 12. Jeff Gordon just lost a spot. But they all 5 qualified in the top 11, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the leader, and 25-year-old Brad Keselowski running in second spot. Then you got the champions 3rd and 12th.
And go ahead and throw Tony Stewart in that group too with the Hendrick engine running 4th.
And here's, by the way, Juan Pablo Montoya still on the charge.
Looking for a hole.
We talked about how some of the guys 10th on back-end points might want to get aggressive and gamble today. He's 3rd in the points coming in, and he's been on it since they dropped the green flag.
Yeah, but he made a big charge there, and then he kind of settled in. And as you can see, Matt Kenseth trying to take the spot away from him now, was able to make that pass, take over that 8th spot from Montoya. It looked like his car just kind of settled in, and he's pretty content on riding there till he can make some changes.
Here's a 25 car. Second right now on the racetrack. Let's listen to their radio.
Yeah, keep hitting that damn sewer crack when I try to dime in that corner. I haven't figured that quite out yet.
It's like Jimmy might have goes across that car mark right about the Coca-Cola sign. Actually gets a little bit higher right there, but you do what you're comfortable with.
Giving a young man all the input they can give him, and how much does that help a young driver, DJ?
Well, I think he's paying it. I think that Brad's really paying attention to what he's doing right here. I think he's very aware of what he, that this is important to run that groove right and not hit those things.
Yeah, and it's good to get that information for somebody like that they're seeing what other cars and fast cars are doing. He's talking about Jimmy Johnson's coming up on him, so he's not able to see exactly what he's doing, but that is helpful. But as you heard Brad say, he's kind of figuring it out, and he's just taking it kind of lap by lap and doing a terrific job.
Once he got that information a moment ago, the very next lap, he was 0.2 faster than he had been a lap before.
Well, he's a good listener then. We figured that much out.
00 David Rudiman making a pass on Mark Martin. That's for 5th spot. And further up front, Tony Stewart now has run down the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson.
And these 3 cars have closed the gap on the lead of Dale Earnhardt Jr. while they're racing each other.
Yeah, talking to Tony Stewart this weekend, he was very confident in his chances here. He loves this racetrack. He likes the idea that the sun was going to come out. We were talking the other night at dinner about how it was going to get hotter. I was just wondering how it might affect him. He was really smiling whenever we talked about that, and it would get slick. We see cars starting to make pit stops. Brad Keselowski's coming in.
We've been green since lap 12. Here at lap 53, we heard that pit stops will be between 50 and 55. Let's go down to the 25 pit. Shannon.
Brad Keselowski making his 6th start for Hendrick Motorsports. I told you earlier, this is his nationwide crew pitting this car. Brad saying the car is just a little bit tight, but it is good. It is flying around the racetrack. Slight air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for this 25 car.
Ryan Newman in right behind him as you see the 25 car leaving. There's Newman getting his service. Shannon.
Ryan Newman, biggest problem right now is not much grip. He's also got a problem going on inside the car. He says he might have an alternating failing. He says it's bouncing around on the numbers. So they're definitely going to take a look at that and watch that closely. Vince.
Crew Chief Chad Knaus reminding his driver driver Jimmy Johnson of the Pit Road Speed. They're going to change 4 tires, also make a chassis adjustment. Michael Ingerfeld changing the tires on the front. The car a little too snug in the center. That's the only complaint Jimmy's had so far. Good clean stop for the 48 Lowe's team at this point. Jamie.
And Dale Jr. gave up the lead for this pit stop. He said he's a little tight rolling through the center. Air pressure adjustment, 4 tires. The 88 is down and away.
Very good pit stop for the 88 bunch. There's Montoya's crowd getting 4 tires on his Chevy. Let's check on Tony Stewart's stop. Dave.
Tony had been radioing to his crew that he needs to roll the center better. So they're going to put 4 tires on that. That'll give him a little bit of grip. They're also going to make a wedge adjustment going in the left rear window right there for Stewart. Had been running along in about the 3rd position. Now Mark Martin had dropped back to the 6th position. He is on pit road now as well. He will get an air pressure adjustment for that race car, but it really was close to the setup he wanted balance-wise and didn't want him to do a lot to it. That maybe tightening it up thing he asked for earlier, nah, he waved that off.
See Bill Elliott coming out, Kurt Busch coming out. There's the 44 of Allmendinger squeezing out there in front of the 2 car. You see Kyle Busch coming off pit road. Back down to the 11 pit, Jamie.
And Denny Hamlin trying to rebound after last week's poor performance by this team. They went 2 laps down. He says he's a little tight in the center and needs to work on the throttle as well. They're going to make a wedge adjustment, 4 tires for the 11, Vince.
The 20 car of Joey Logano has had issues from the very beginning today. They spun on the first lap, didn't make any contact, but have done some front end damage on another incident as you see the 4 tire change and cleaning of the grill. Dave.
Carl Edwards coming down pit road now. He was able to stay out long enough to lead a lap. Had been running in about the 10th position. His last report was a little bit tight in the center, a little bit loose off. So they will go to an air. Actually, they call for no chassis adjustments, I heard Bob Osborne say. So it'll just be air pressure to try to help Carl, last year's 2nd place finisher. Again, 5 critical points that he got for staying out and lead a lap.
Carl completing his work. And the 88 car.
You have to stop it in the pit box. Stop in the pit box. We have a left rear lug loose.
They had black flag Dale Earnhardt Jr. and they gave him the black flag with the right cross saying, if you don't come in this time, you're going to stop scoring yet. Here's the problem.
So they're making this left side tire change. It's the Jackman's responsibility now to make sure everybody's done before he lets it down. You can see the official pointing to the left rear. That means you got 1 lug nut loose.
And he will come down for a pass-through penalty. Here he comes at just 45 miles an hour.
I think he's actually going to have to stop and put this lug nut on. So
yeah, they will have to stop. Now, it is just a, well, they can call it a pass-through penalty, but you still have to put that lug nut on.
Here's a 7 car. Let's go down to Hollywood. Mark Hollywood Armstrong changing the front tire for Robbie Gordon. You could hear him panting there in the microphone, trying to hustle and get the car around. And now Lance McGrew pleading their case with the NASCAR official, but if the lug nut is off, it is off.
Uh-oh, got another penalty here on the 99 car. Speeding on pit road. This is going to be a pass-through penalty.
It was in the final segment of 50.4. The speed limit is 45. NASCAR gives you 5 miles per hour, but no tolerance after that.
After that, they write you a ticket.
So then the ticket is the pass-through penalty, having to work your way down pit road. Here comes the 19 car, Elliott Sadler, who was being shown as the leader. He will now come in here on lap 60 and make his pit stop. Elliott Sadler coming off that great top 10 finish at New Hampshire. Disappointment being involved in a multi-car incident at Dover, trying to get another top 10 here at Kansas. Chassis adjustment on the 19 car going on there, and they will put 4 tires on for Elliott Sadler.
After that, having to come back on pit road, that puts Dale Jr. a lap down right now.
So after leading 41 laps, a miscue in the pits for Dale Earnhardt Jr. has cost him a lap. He's being shown back in the 32nd position. Back up front, battle for the lead, these two guys.
Yeah, this 25 car, Brad Keselowski, got the lead on that round of pit stops, actually beating Junior out there even before Junior made his penalty stop. And Jimmy Johnson's been coming. See how fast he is right now. Get ready to take that lead back away from Brad.
And Dale Jr. is about 15 car lengths behind these two cars. He right now is the first car. Well, he was the first car a lap down. I think Elliott Sadler's going to be that now.
That is the first lap today that Jimmy Johnson has led. That's important because of the 5 bonus points. Remember, he came in here 10 points behind Mark Martin. And more bad news for the 83 car, one of our chase contenders, Brian Vickers. Right there in front of the cars, and he is in position to possibly get lapped very quickly. Vickers just not having a car handling very well here as Jimmy Johnson moves in, or is moving in, to put Vickers a lap down. First round of pit stops are complete, and it is a big, tough time for Dale Earnhardt Jr., who came in as the leader and is now being shown a lap down back in 32nd position. Jimmy Johnson is our leader.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
A look now at the current standings for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year. Points accumulated by the team who wins the race, fan votes, and a network pick. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s pit crew so far on top of those standings, though Earnhardt Jr. suffering a little misfortune on his pit stop a minute ago. Make your pick for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year by texting the car number for the pit crew you think's the fastest and most valuable to 2258. Standard messaging rates apply. And from the ESPN Pit Studio, Alan Bestwick, Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, as we work our way now to the 100-mile mark of today's 400-mile event. We check the championship standings in the chase for the Sprint Cup and see, with Jimmy Johnson leading the race and Mark Martin back in 5th position, it is Johnson, the championship leader, as they run by 20 points. Theme of the day so far, though, through the first 100 miles, Rusty and Brad, mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes already. But I'm very, very impressed with what I'm seeing out of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr.'s had a great run today. He's a lap now down. Oh, a caution's out right now. Looks like the 43 car, Reed Sorensen, has tagged the wall. But I'm really impressed with the 88 car, Dale Jr. He's run so good. He's got a lap down now because the left rear lug nut was left off. Nothing of his doing. I believe he can get this lap back, and I believe he'll be just fine. But good run out of Jr. so far.
Yeah, we've seen mistake as well by another chase contender, Carl Edwards, speeding on pit road. And evidently there's something wrong in their calculations because he had the same penalty yesterday in the nationwide race. So they need to get that figured out because that could cost him dearly as we go throughout the day.
Carl Edwards running 33rd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 32nd. Free pass on this caution will belong to one Elliott Sadler. He is the Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass award winner this time. First driver one lap down, and now he gets back on the lead lap. So nice there for Sadler, who's running in 29th place at the moment. So what happened to bring out the yellow? Reed Sorensen was the car we were focusing on. Let's take a look and see if he caught the wall. Oh, yeah, there he is, top of the screen.
Yeah, just way up on top of the racetrack and loses it, gets in the wall. And looks like got the right side damaged in the car. Looks like it can probably fix it and get it back out there. Let's take a look at the onboard. Just loses the car. Oh, that last little bit gets loose, tags the wall. But he hit it flat, guys, and that's a good thing. He didn't get it with the right front or the right rear. Should be able to get this car back in a hunt today.
Yeah, I hope Reed can get this thing going. I mean, you just get up top there, and there's still not a lot of race cars that have spent much time up there, so there's no rubber. Maybe he was trying to rubber the groove in himself and got himself a little bit of trouble.
So even though all these cars were just on pit road under the green flag, thinking we're going to see him back under the caution flag?
Oh, I think tires are very, very precious, Alan. I believe they got to come back down, put 4 new tires in this thing, and fill it back up with gas and get back at it.
I'm going to throw a little wrinkle at you. They don't need a full tank of fuel. Watch for a lot of 2-tire stops here.
That's where I was going. You're going to see a lot of guys getting 2 tires, just topping these hot rods off so they can run a little bit longer deep into their fuel run. Shannon, you got something else for us?
Well, Brad Keselowski continues to impress, riding up front, staying up front. That's where he qualified, and that's where he runs. They're going to make a small air pressure adjustment on this 25 car. It's that good. 4 tires and fuel. Vince.
The 48 of Jimmie Johnson really likes the changes they made on that first stop. Jimmie says the car is good on both ends of the track, has a really good balance. They also have an open pit stop ahead of them now, so it's a clean exit from the pits for Jimmie Johnson. Dave?
The adjustment for Tony Stewart's car has already been made. That's increased air pressure in the left rear. It was just a little bit loose for the race car. The 5 for Mark Martin, no changes to that. They talked about it, but Mark wants to keep it the way it is.
Here they come, the 2 tire guys, looking for some track position.
Oh, yeah, the top 3 guys, take a look at that. It's a great way to get some track position because they didn't have a lot of laps on the tires. Good job out of Biffle, Truex, and Kurt Busch for making that call. Look at Kurt Busch, up 13 positions.
Remember, he started back in 39th. Greg Biffle, one of the championship chasers, started back in 31st. They were 2 of the first 3 off pit road under caution.
The new season of ABC's Desperate Housewives is just getting started. An attack on Susan's daughter will have everyone wondering, how well do you really know our neighbors? Naughty affairs, crazy stalkers, and misbehaving young nieces spice up life on Wisteria Lane. ABC's Desperate Housewives airs tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. We are working caution for the 3rd time today here at Kansas Speedway. The 43 car having an incident. Reed Sorensen, the leaders, have been on and off pit road. There's the 48 car, Jimmie Johnson. They lost a couple of spots to other cars changing 4 tires. Actually lost 5 positions from where he entered pits to where he exited, but some only took 2. And they had a little bit of an issue on the right side of the car.
You can see right here where Greg Biffle's team, total time there by the crew, 6.4 for those right side tires. Gains you a lot of track position, and that total time they're reflecting that. See 14.4 for Jimmie, 4 tires.
Show you again the 48 coming on the pit road, and watch the guys going to change the right side tires.
Well, it's just a matter of, split seconds that makes a difference in these positions off pit road. You see the right rear guy had just a little trouble getting the tire off, or actually getting the lug nuts off of the right rear. They made a nice recovery, though, coming around here on the left side.
Still much better to be a couple of seconds slower than to leave a lug nut off and have to come back in like Dale Earnhardt Jr. did. Here's the pit time breakdown, Andy. You see the difference there. And of course, Jimmie Johnson losing the positions. Logano's bunch 12.9 seconds.
Yeah, give David Rudisman's crew a tip there for a 12.6 second 4-tire stop.
Yeah, and Ryan Newman got caught too fast on the exit, so he's having to start at the back of the pack here.
Greg Biffle, who won this race 2 years ago back in 2007, will lead them down. They bunch up behind them, little accordion effect. No harm, no foul. Almost have some incidents. And now back in the pack, a couple of guys going around the 21 of Bill Elliott.
I think that was just, like you said, an accordion effect.
Yeah, Bill Elliott couldn't get going. So that's about to be big-time trouble for a lot of those guys.
They were 3 wide off of turn 2 a moment ago. Jimmie Johnson now gets in front of the 17 at Kansas, and here comes Keselowski on the high side. There's Biffle, the leader. Truex being shown in 2nd spot. Kurt Busch is 3rd. Then Jimmie Johnson. And this gaggle of cars behind him, the 14 of Stewart. Mark Martin in the 5, and they are side by side behind them for position. Well, you got to love this double file restart shootout style. It has really added so much competition here after these guys get fresh tires.
Does make things a lot more exciting for sure on these restarts, where these guys are racing cars with equal speed. A lot of times we always had double file restart, but they've been a little different with lap cars on the inside. Dave, what's going on with the 42?
Well, the 42 Montoya, he got lucky that the caution came out, guys, because he had a tire going down. Now, he could feel it, but you know what? Sometimes you can hear it. Listen. That is the sidewall leaking. That's the tire that came off Juan Pablo's car in this last stop. Now, on the first set where he ran all those laps, good news for tire wear today. The tires were very worn, but were very good. But this, kind of unusual.
I don't think I've ever audibly heard a leaking tire on national television.
Well, you have now. Good job, Dave. I tell you, he was real lucky to get that tire off of that car.
Yes. And here's a battle starting to heat up front here. Keselowski and Kurt Busch. That's for 4th position.
Yeah, having some luck, back to the Montoya deal, having some good fortune and like that are the kind of things that help you win championships.
Sometimes you make your own luck, and you have to run good to be able to take advantage of those situations. 42 car's pretty fast today, too. He's 7th spot right now.
These two guys here in the 25 and 2 will actually be teammates next year as Keselowski goes to drive for Roger Penske. That's Kurt Busch, the Penske driver on the high side in that 2 car, and now Tony Stewart trying to join the fray. There'll be 3 cars battling for that 5th position and 4th spot. Jimmie Johnson, left side of your screen, trying to move downstairs and go around Truex. Wow, Tony Stewart nearly got into the back of the 25.
Those 2 tires working pretty good for Kurt Busch.
It's amazing how this racetrack has changed. The first 15 laps, people are tiptoeing down on the bottom of the racetrack, and as you said, DJ, now they are moving all the way up toward the wall. Here's the 88 car. Remember, these cars are lap downs on the left side of your screen. Carl Edwards. These guys are trying to get in position to be the first car a lap down, so if we do get a caution, they would get the lucky dog.
Yeah, this race is going to heat up. That 99 car is in that spot right now, and Junior wants it bad.
Now Tony Stewart easing back in where he almost got into the back of the 25 a moment ago and then backed way out of it. Now he has run the 2 and 25 back down.
Hey, you see just how difficult it is. Brad Keselowski has a really good car. We've shown that, but he's really loose right now, it looks like. He's not able to make that pass on Kurt Busch, who has just 2 tires from that pit stop.
Stewart can't quite clear him either. He drives the car under him, entering the corners, and they drive back by him coming off. Shannon.
Guys, I spoke with crew chief Tony Eury Jr. this morning. I asked him about working with Brad. He said, you know, I approach working with inexperienced drivers the same way he worked with Dale Jr. I have everything be very consistent every weekend. This is the same car Brad has driven in every race for Hendrick Motorsports. And when they unload off the truck, they start with the same setup each and every weekend that they work together. They then tweak from there. He said it's that consistency that really helps Brad on the racetrack.
Well, he has certainly come a long way. We're talking about Brad Keselowski as a Nationwide Series driver and also as a NASCAR Sprint Cup driver. He will run one more time in that Hendrick car this year, and that'll be at Charlotte coming up in the middle of October.
You see those 3 lanes, all 3 of them really equal. They're coming off the corner, but they're all using different lanes through the middle of the corner.
He probably wishes Tony Eury Jr. could help him get by this 2 car right now because he is faster. He just can't find a way around Kurt Busch on the bottom. Yeah, that'll be a teammate of his next year with Kurt Busch. He's not worried about that right now. He's thinking about how he could get around him. He is able to make that pass. You see Tony Stewart trying to pass Brad.
And here the battle for on the right side of your screen to be the first car lap down if we were to get a caution. The 88 has now run down the 99 of Carl Edwards. And these guys, as you said, Andy, back and forth trying to get in that valuable spot.
Oh, yeah, they're not just going to be riding around right now. They're going to race hard for this spot. That caution could fly at any moment, and they want to make sure their car's out front. You don't want to sit here and fight for this all day. You want to try to get it as quickly as you can. Get back in the game here.
We just joined our coverage. The 88 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. led for 41 laps, and then when they made their pit stop, they had a left rear lug nut left off. They had to come back down pit road, put the lug nut on, and that cost him a lap on the racetrack.
Carl Edwards not giving it up.
Yeah, and this is really important to watch Junior right now because if he is able to make this lap up, he's going to obviously have to come from the back of the pack again. So can he make passes being back in there? We know he has a fast car out front. What's it like back in traffic?
Left side of your screen, Jeff Gordon going all the way down on the bottom of the racetrack to take a spot away. That is the 10th position. We talked about how that 2014 had this race and this weekend circled because of Jeff Gordon being so good at this place.
Yeah, this is a weekend they feel like that they have to really capitalize. This has been a good track for them in the past. They need to be able to make up some points on the 5 and the 48.
Back up front, Greg Biffle being shown as our leader in the 16 car, but Jimmie Johnson in that middle and upper groove trying to reel him in, and there goes Montoya now able to go down and go around the 2 car for position. That's for 6th spot.
Yeah, that's still a good move by the 2 and the 16 to get 2 tires that last time. Stole some track position, and they're holding it pretty well. I mean, looks like Biffle's probably going to lose that spot to Johnson, but he's still holding a lot of speed right here. It's going to make a big difference in his race.
Tony Stewart now able to clear that 25 car for position. That's for 4th spot.
He's giving him a little push down the back straightaway before they got to turn 3 to see if he could make sure that he knew who was behind him and he was ready to go.
What do they call that, rattling your cage?
Yeah, it's a little message sent. It's been pretty impressive. Watch Greg Biffle on these 2 tires stay out in front of Jimmy Johnson here.
Greg Biffle started back in 31st position. They told us on Friday before our qualifying show that they had built this car brand new specifically for this racetrack in mind. Now Jimmy Johnson will go downstairs. 4 tires, fresh rubber. Can he hold it off coming off the corner? And will Greg get the momentum? Here comes Biffle back.
Biffle holding on to it.
He's going to make Jimmy earn this, take it away from him.
Yeah, the 16 team was kind of forced into this 2-tire change by a poor qualifying run. And now that they had this in mind, that they needed to steal some track position early, that way they can get back in this game. When they get on equal time, look at Biffle go down all the way down to the apron, trying to break the draft on Jimmy.
He's doing a great job, and so far these 2 tires are working for he and Martin Truex. They're 1st and 3rd, so the gamble that they've made is certainly paying off for those guys to get this track position and get themselves in a much better position next time.
Biffle, one of 4 drivers in the chase that have not won a race in 2009. In fact, now it's been over a year since he last won. It was at Dover last fall when he won the first 2 races of the chase at New Hampshire and Dover.
Yeah, it's got to make Greg feel really good, though, knowing when he does get 4 tires on it, he's going to be pretty sporty.
We have had 11 different leaders, 11 lead changes today. There have been 5 different chase drivers who have led. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, and this guy right now, Greg Biffle.
They pulled about 5 seconds on the 3rd place car.
See Jimmy get right up next to Greg Biffle as they come to the start-finish line there. See if he's able to clear him down in turns 1 and 2 this time.
You see Biffle using that side draft right there. It's just almost like it stops that 48's momentum.
Tony Stewart, left side, taking the 3rd position away from Martin Truex. Battles all over the racetrack. Stewart is on the move. Jimmy Johnson has gotten there but can't make the pass on Greg Biffle as Biffle continues to be our leader. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station. Still a great battle going on up front, and we'll let you know that some NHRA O'Reilly Mid-South Nationals finals will be tomorrow at 7 Eastern time. They were rained out today. They were scheduled for tonight. They will air tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern time from Memphis. How about NASCAR now? Wrapping up the weekend, 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. And, of course, NASCAR now presented by the Home Depot tomorrow, 6 Eastern time, the roundtable discussion. NASCAR Nationwide Series from California next Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And, of course, NASCAR Sprint Cup, it'll be round number 4 in the chase for the Sprint Cup. The Pepsi 500 in California next Sunday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern time, live on ABC. Jimmy Johnson loves going to California Speedway. He's got to be enjoying this a little bit here at Kansas, where he won a year ago. But Greg Biffle just sitting up there riding high, wide, and handsome.
Man, I'm telling you what, I'm impressed by what he's doing with this car with 2 tires. And don't think that the crew chiefs on pit road aren't paying attention to this, too. If they've got about 20 laps on tires, they're going to definitely consider 2.
Well, they might need a really good race car and Greg Biffle as the driver to make all that work. I don't know which it is, but it's certainly a great combination for Biffle and that team right now.
Talk about great combinations. Montoya continuing the motor right on, takes the 5th spot away from Truex. It's amazing. Juan Pablo Montoya has 4 top 5 finishes this year, and 2 of them have come in round 1 and round 2 of the chase.
We can kind of see it them leading up to this type of performance. Don't know that we expect him to be top 5 every week, but we could see that they were becoming more and more competitive throughout the year. He and Brian Patty make a great team.
Lap 100 here in the Price Chopper 400 at Kansas Speedway. Greg Biffle.
Yeah, I'd say he's a superstar too. Yeah,
That's
holding off Jimmy Johnson.
That's one thing you don't have to worry about, Greg Biffle giving you 100%. What you got to worry about is him giving you more than 100%. I'm telling you, he leaves it all out there on the track.
He's just not going to give Jimmy Johnson an opening on the outside whatsoever. Let's see as they come up on a couple of lap cars here.
Max Pappas, a 13 car. Which way is Max going to go? Looks like Biffle will go under him. Whoa, he can't get under him.
Uh-oh, this might be the opening Jimmy's looking for.
And that pick gave Jimmy Johnson a chance to get by because Biffle had to jump into the brakes.
Your leader, 48.
I think Biffle just had a hard time. You can see him really having a hard time on the bottom side right there. He needs to be up there where he doesn't have to turn the steering wheel as much.
Now, we were talking about some of the tire issues early on when these guys spin and flat spotted the tires. And we'll show you this 98 car, top of your screen, Paul Menard spinning at over 150 miles an hour and just rips the rubber off these tires. And you wonder how a tire like that can allow you to be able to get back to pit road and not tear the car up. Well, that's what's left of the tire. Why don't we go down and explain how this all works as we go to our Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer.
Jerry, Dave Burns had that tire a while ago. You could hear the leak. Well, hey, we've got one. You can see the hole in this tire. This is fresh off the 98 car, but this is the inner liner. Inside the tire, you can see where it barely touched the racetrack surface right here. But the way the inner liner works, it basically comes out. When you puncture this outer area, you've got a valve stem on the inside that contains the air in the inner liner. In this area, it contains the air pressure in this tire. But what it does, it comes down, rides on the inner liner, and gives the driver an opportunity to regain control.
Tim, thank you. A great safety innovation by Goodyear. And back before they had the inner liner, when you cut a tire, that wheel would dig into the asphalt and the car would just start rolling.
You see Matt Kenseth now trying to fight his way by the one car, but yeah, the inner liners have been around a long time. I mean, this is something Goodyear and Firestone, I believe, developed years ago. I'm not sure which one, but it's been a long time in the sport.
Yeah, too many times we talk about Goodyear in the sense that when they've had tire problems, but they've done a lot of really good things throughout the year to make these cars safer for each time these guys get in the car.
What a great event to drive to.
Especially on new Fuel Max tires.
Introducing Goodyear Fuel Max tires. An innovative tread compound saves you 2,600 miles worth of gas over the life of the tires.
2,600 miles.
Now that would be a long race.
Goodyear. Get there.
That was me. Tony Stewart. Before I started using Swagger from Old Spice. Thanks, Old Spice.
A day in the life of Aaron's spokesman, Michael Waltrip.
Good morning, Mr. Waltrip.
Morning. Could you move my 2 to 2:30 and hold all calls from DW?
Sure thing.
What is sports saying about me? Morning, Dave.
Morning.
What's happening at shopaarons.com?
Aaron's has name brand furniture, electronics, appliances, and computers at the guaranteed low price. Flexible payment plans and no credit checks. Nobody beats Aaron's.
Autographs should have style like this. Oh, good, Lucky. Whoa, Dave.
All right, so there's pretty much two kinds of trucks in the world, dumb trucks and smart trucks. Dumb trucks give you exactly what you expect, brawn, same old, but a smart truck gives you brains too. They'll connect you to the internet, help find lost tools, dial your cell phone, and recognize your voice. Know how many smart trucks there are? Just one, the Ford F-150. Their 2.5-ton office just got some new software. It's not just a pickup truck, it's a Ford F-150.
Your race viewing experience with Track Pass Race View. Try it free for 10 minutes at NASCAR.com/raceview now.
Jimmy Johnson leading chase race number 3. Today, a 400-miler at the Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas. A look at our McDonald's race rundown and how things have unfolded through this first third of the race. Trouble in turn 2, Athene.
Oh, yeah, turn 2's been a problem. Take a look at Joey Logano right there, spinning off of turn 2. Doesn't hit anything. And then again, Paul Menard, same spot, same problem. A lot of questions out there with the drivers whether these tar strips on the racetrack are causing these spins.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s had a roller coaster day.
Boy, he really has. Got off to a great start after that initial spin by Joey Logano. He led for 41 laps. Just had a great-looking race car. Comes down pit road on fuel stop. They leave a lug nut off, and it has put him back. He's back in 35th 5th position. A lap down has derailed his day.
Jimmie Johnson charged up through the field early. Then after Greg Biffle's team used the two-tire strategy to get him out front, Johnson got some help in traffic when Biffle got caught behind the car of Max Papis, and Johnson is now the race leader at the 109-lap mark. Jimmie ahead of Biffle by 0.7 of a second. Let's take you up to speed now and set how some of the runners in this field are performing. We begin with the leaders, Pitt and Vince Welch. Vince?
Well, Alan, it's no surprise to see Jimmie Johnson out front. He won this race a year ago. He's led more laps here than any other drivers. Had a real good run early in this race, although in this stint he says the car got a little too snug 4 to 5 laps into the run. Still pretty solid, however. The 16 car of Greg Biffle. Remember at the beginning of the show we told you that crew chief Greg Irwin feared it would take 2/3 of the race to get from their 31st starting position up into the challenging positions toward the front. Didn't take nearly that long. Greg Biffle is really good, and as Alan mentioned, he's good on 2 tires. Dave?
Running in third is Tony Stewart. Not bad, a little free on entry according to the driver. That's much better than they had yesterday when the car backfired badly on lap 6 of morning practice and they had a bad vibration. They swapped out the ignition panel, carburetor, the gear, the drive shaft. It ran fine through the end of the practice. Got rid of their gremlins. Shannon?
The meat between this chase sandwich is Brad Keselowski. What a great run for Brad. He is on his own agenda right now, guys, but he's got to be reminded a little bit that he is racing around some guys who are going for a championship. In fact, NASCAR officials were just over at the 25 stall, and according to the team, they told them to remind Brad just to calm down a little bit, not to race so hard so soon around all these chasers, but the car has been great for the 25 team so far. Dave?
Juan Pablo Montoya needs a little bit more forward bite. Crew chief Brian Patty will try to give that to him on the next round of pit stops. Talked to Brian this morning. He said, you know, I learned 80% of what I know in the garage area by looking around. And he said, you really know you've made it when other teams start looking at your stuff. And he says, people have been eyeballing our car the last few races. We know we're running good. Shannon?
Matt Kenseth coming off that great run last week at Dover. Many people have been asking them if this team has turned a corner. Well, according to Drew Blickensturfer, they've just gone back to basics. And basics is how they ran at the beginning of the season. This setup is very similar to their intermediate package at the beginning of the year. And so far, it's just been a little bit free all year. And behind Matt Kenseth running on the track is Jeff Gordon. This team knows that they have to have a good finish here today, but the race has not started the way that they want to. The car was all over the place. Jeff Gordon told Steve Letarte, if you can fix it, you'll be my hero. They have taken some big whacks at the setup, and right now it looks like Steve might be a hero because it is getting better. Dave?
We know who Mark Martin's hero is. It's his crew chief, Alan Gustafson. Alan told me this morning, you know, when he says that good stuff about me, he's very gracious, but I'm an actions person, and I know talk can be cheap, even though it's not from Mark. He says he shows what he believes in us by the trust he shows in us, doesn't question us a lot, and the respect he shows this team week after week by the way he drives the race car and doesn't second get us. Right now, Mark's car is a little bit loose off. Needs some help there. Jamie?
And the one car, Martin Truex Jr., remember, he had a great run going here last year, led 43 laps and then blew up. He has a pretty stout car here. It's the one he sat on the pole at Atlanta with. He says he's lacking overall grip right now as he continues to move backwards. But remember, last pit stop, he took right sides only, and he's losing some spots right now. Vince?
The 00, David Rudiman, they weren't happy with their car in the final practice, but right before the end of the practice, they thought they'd found something that would pay off today. Well, today, David Rudiman is dealing with a race car that he says is evil loose. He said he can't go anywhere without it wanting to spin. No side bite, no nothing, but he's still managing to run in the top 10. That might bode well for him later if they can get it snugged up, Alan.
All right, Vince, thank you. So updates there on the runners in the top 10 at this point in the race. And again, at the head of the pack, Jimmie Johnson, defending winner of this race. Johnson out in front. Again, he started 11th today, marched to the front, got set back a little bit on a pit stop, then came back to the front. Remember that frantic finish with he and Carl Edwards last year? We'll see if we get another one of those today.
Back at Kansas Speedway, Jimmie Johnson is our leader. We are about 4 or 5 laps away from scheduled pit stops. We're about 10 or 12 laps away from halfway here at Kansas Speedway in this 400-miler. There's the 42 car. Look at the right side of his door. Moments ago, a little contact on the racetrack with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, these guys are racing. Montoya had run Brad Keselowski down, and as they went into turn 3, Keselowski went to the top. You see Montoya gets back to the throttle right here. Kind of surprises Brad. Well, after he hits him, he might have been surprised.
Yeah, that was surprising.
But he does go on to make the pass.
Let's listen to Montoya's radio.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, he was thinking that Brad probably turned down a little bit. And I tell you, sometimes you just have to, if you get your right sides in those seams that we've been talking a lot about, then you have to get yourself off of that. And I think that's what Brad was trying to stay away from a situation that could have made his car slide up into the wall.
They should be coming in for scheduled pit stops here in the next lap or two. Crew's now getting ready down on pit road, getting tires up on the wall. They last pitted.
Here he comes.
On lap 71. Here comes a 25 car down pit road at 45 miles an hour. Shannon.
Brad Keselowski still very happy with this car as he pulls his 25 into the pit stall. This is his favorite car. The only one that he has run while he's running races for Hendrick Motorsports is going to be air pressure adjustment and 4 tires. They have made such small changes all day. They really hit on this setup at the start of the race, and they've looked good so far all day.
See Ryan Newman coming in behind him as Keselowski comes out. There's the 39 car, one of our chase contenders. Shannon.
Ryan Newman in the 39 car battling loose conditions on the racetrack. They have been working on the chassis, and you see that grill. They wiped that off a little bit. Ryan Newman is down and away, just trying to get him tightened up. Matt Kenseth also on pit road right now. He says he needs more overall grip. They made a wedge adjustment on the last pit stop. They're going to go back on that adjustment and also make a track bar for the 17. Jamie.
And Kurt Busch, he said he had a terrible vibration, was getting so loose that this team has been ready with helmets on for 20 laps. Now we have debris on the track, guys. Oh, we got to spin in the 83.
Brian Vickers spun around coming off of turn 4, got it in the grass, and will now back it down the pit road, and that will indeed bring out the caution.
Pit road if you're running here.
The 16 Biffle on pit road finishing his stop as the caution comes out.
Yeah, that'll be a kind of a break for him because he's probably going to be the leader as these other guys are going to pit under the caution.
Yeah, he stays on the lead lap. That caution flag flies, and the 48 had to slow down while he made that stop, so that allows the 16 car to get it on and off pit road without losing a lap. And now he doesn't have to pit, where Jimmie Johnson does.
And we've got some guys that got caught a lap down, Matt Kenseth and some others that made pit stops there, but they'll be probably, well, depending on where Biffle comes out. I was going to say on the wave around part. So
yeah,
they should still be in front of Biffle.
Yeah, see how it shakes out right here.
I'll show you what happened to Vickers here to bring out the caution flag as he's top of your screen coming off turn 4. Wow.
Yeah, Brian was way up the racetrack right there. We've seen a lot of cars running up high there.
I understand trying to find grip wherever you can, but there's not much to be had up there. That's getting up to where there's just loose stuff up there, from tire rubber to everything else that's collected up there. So just a little too high up for Brian.
You saw as he was spinning that Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jamie McMurray were both coming down pit road for their pit stop as that car got sideways. Here is Jimmie Johnson, who is yet to come back in. He will pit now under the caution. The 29 car will get the lucky dog free pass. Kevin Harvick, there's Harvick, and he will be able to get back on the lead lap. That'll give us now 20 cars on the lead lap here on lap 126.
As I look down, the last car on the lead lap right now is Bill Elliott. What a great job he did during that run in the 21 car of the Wood brothers.
Leaders set to come down for their next stop. Jimmie Johnson, Clint Bowyer, and they bunch up at 45 miles an hour. Let's go down to Shannon.
Well, a huge sigh of relief for Jeff Gordon, guys. He was about to run out of fuel. If the pits had not opened this lap, they were in big trouble. They're going to continue working on those tight conditions for the 24 team. It's a chassis adjustment and 4 tires. Vince.
Jimmie Johnson's been very happy with his race car. Half adjustments, a half pound and a half round. A little too snug. He says it's better in 1 than in 3. Dave.
Tony Stewart needs a little bit of wedge, Sunoco fuel, and 4 tires on his car with just a little bit free entering the corner. As for Juan Pablo Montoya, he of course was running in the 3rd position. Tighter than longer he went, and a little snappy on throttle. Less air pressure in the right front. Track bar adjustment, race off pit road.
Good effort by Montoya's bunch. Very good stop. Gains him a spot. Jeff Gordon up a spot. And Jimmie Johnson's guys had no trouble with the right side that time. You see Tony Stewart back 2 positions, and all those cars taking 4 fresh Goodyears here under the 4th caution flag of the day.
They're all going to line up behind Greg Biffle, though, who pitted under green.
So we are 6 laps away from halfway. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Craftsman. Trust in your hands. And Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Under caution for the fourth time a day, they have waved around what we call the wave around cars. There are 10 of them. Here they come: 39, 17, 34, 1, 13, 20, 98, 82, 25, and Kurt Busch is the 2 car. So those cars have been waved around, and the leaders are now back up behind the pace car. Greg Biffle being shown as the leader. Jimmy Johnson second, Montoya third, Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart rounding out the top 5.
Puts 24 cars on the lead lap now.
We've had 4 caution flags and 18 lead changes, and folks, we're not even halfway yet here at Kansas. Show you some of the guys getting it done on pit road here.
Yeah, you can see these fastest pit stops that round. Kyle Busch, his team got a 13.1 as the fastest pit stop. See Elliott Sadler, 13.8. Allmendinger too there, 13.5. A lot of good fast pit work down there. You can see how close that is. I mean, those are tenths of seconds, and that's what it's down to now, how competitive it is on pit road, just like it is on the track for these spots.
You saw how Denny Hamlin's crew got him off pit road, and that helped him get back up into the 6th position. Green flag. Biffle trying to hold off the charge. Here come the Hendrick boys hustling up high. Johnson and Gordon. Johnson now pulling Biffle by half a car length, and look at this battle here. The 42 of Montoya trying to take the spot away.
Yeah, I think that inside be okay here when you have fresh tires for a couple of laps.
Looks like Biffle may have got just into Jimmy Johnson off the corner. Close call.
Biffle will now go back across that white line. See the 42 car back there. Neither Montoya or Jeff Gordon have led a lap today.
They can see the lead from where they are.
In fact, Jeff Gordon has not led a lap in the chase thus far this year at New Hampshire or Dover. Here comes Denny Hamlin.
See, Montoya is able to finally take that spot away from Jeff. Here comes Tony Stewart.
Look at Stewart now. He's getting aggressive, taking these spots.
Top 7 drivers are all chase contenders. Race number 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, and the first driver outside the chase is Kyle Busch, back in 8th spot. Now Jimmy Johnson starting to open it up a little bit there on the 2nd place car of Biffle. When we came in today, Jimmy Johnson was trailing Mark Martin by 10 points in the chase standings. You see up top as the points go across right now, it is Jimmy Johnson in the lead by 29 points over Martin, with Montoya 80 points back in 3rd.
And Jimmy's closing in on leading the most laps here for the day so far. Earnhardt still has that, but Jimmy's getting ready to lead his 40th as we come to halfway.
Wow, Biffle all the way up across the racetrack.
Had a good race back here. See Casey Kane, the 9 car, now pretty strong after that round of pit stops. Passed quite a few cars there on the outside. He's still looking high now on Mark Martin. Martin gets a good run off the corner.
Oh, look at the 33. Bowyer in the middle, right alongside Logano.
Well, Clint Bowyer had gotten lapped in that last set of runs. His car had gotten really bad. They'd been on the pit road working on the splitter of the car.
Yeah, they replaced a strut on the splitter, a bracket or something there that was holding it. I think that could have been hitting the racetrack, causing Clint some problems in those earlier runs.
Yeah, Bowyer shown back in 28th spot, a lap down. There's 6 cars a lap down. And the 17 car on pit road, unscheduled stop. Shannon.
Matt Kenseth came over the radio a couple laps ago and said he thought he had an engine problem. He said he thought he was blowing up, so of course they're going to go under the hood and check that out. But what a hit for Matt Kenseth and this team, coming off that great run last weekend at Dover. They were having a great run here today. Right now their hope's just going down the drain.
it has been that kind of year for Matt Kenseth. They missed the chase for the first time in his career. Missed it by 38 points.
You guess Mike is starting to skip real bad. I'm sure it's already got a valve stuck in there somewhere, but you can take a look at it. I just figured I'd stop before it was through the piston.
Let's go down to our Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Doc. Historically, right after a pit stop, if a guy over revs the engine, what's going to happen? You might go up and actually break the valve spring here. As the valve spring breaks, it gets the piston and the valve out of timing. What's going to happen is literally this is happening in a millisecond. Engine turning 9,000 RPMs. It's going to tag the top of the piston, and then, like Matt says, he wanted to stop before the valve comes down and goes through the piston, totally blowing the engine up.
And when that happens here, Tim, at these speeds and all the fluids come out, it is becomes a multi-car crash and involves a lot of other cars.
Yeah.
Matt Kenseth heads to the garage area, and Jimmy Johnson heading away from the rest of the field. Johnson's lead now 2.2 seconds over Greg Biffle. Back at Kansas Speedway, Jimmy Johnson, who won this race a year ago, the three-time defending champion, is our leader. ABC Comedy Wednesday is a new night for comedy, and at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, Modern Family is the #1 new comedy. See for yourself why all of America can't stop laughing and talking about ABC's Modern Family, all new Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ABC Comedy Wednesday. '42 car Juan Pablo Montoya has taken the second spot away from Greg Biffle. Biffle, though, not letting him get away, and here comes a 24 car of Jeff Gordon to join the fray.
Yeah, Biffle was about to lose the third spot to Jeff Gordon there after Montoya passed him, but it looks like Biffle's found something, and now he's got back up on the bumper of Montoya.
Let's check in and talk to Matt Kenseth. Shannon.
Matt Kenseth out of his car, his guys working under the hood of the car. Can you tell us exactly what you heard and felt inside that 17 on the track?
I felt like it was getting ready to blow up. I dropped a valve or something. It got stuck in there, but I thought it ran really good this weekend. The motor ran really good, and guys did good. It's actually the best running engine I've had by far for probably a year and a half. So unfortunately, I don't think it's going to make it to the end. Might be able to get it disconnected right around, but had a really good DeWalt fusion today. I thought we were going to be able to run with the leaders in the long run, and for some reason we short pitted there, and that was a mistake and lost all our track position with that yellow, but I thought we had a pretty good car.
It was a good run for Matt Kenseth, and you see Jack Roush down here checking it out. Guys, this is only the second, will be if he doesn't get back out, only the second DNF for Matt Kenseth. So, of course, Jack Roush concerned about his engines.
And it comes on the heels, Shannon, of that impressive third-place finish. Only his third top 5 this year since he won back on February 22nd.
It's like Matt said, though, they had a good solid run going here today. They were well up in the top 10, and it looked like he had a really solid car for all the race.
And you see Greg Biffle now, after he lost that second spot, he's been out there searching around for a better place to race on the racetrack. Now, whoa, that might not be it. He's up a little bit too high, but he did move up the racetrack after he got past.
It actually had moved back up on Montoya, who was running the bottom, and as he caught Montoya, Montoya moved to the top of the racetrack and kind of took away that groove. Dave?
And as Montoya leads that train, he's talked all along in the chase about being relaxed. Talking to Brian Patty, his crew chief this morning, Brian agreed with me. He said, hey, what's the worst that can happen to us? We'll finish 12. That's a pretty good year based on what we're doing and how many people we're doing it with. He said we plan to finish better than that, but right now we're just having fun. Elliott Sadler in trouble, guys.
Yeah, Elliott Sadler not having any fun. His car.
Good save.
Sideways, nice save by Elliott Sadler up there in the turn. The car could have come all the way around in front of other traffic that went above him and below him. But it will bring out caution for the 5th time today.
No, my right front's flat.
So you can see what happened to Elliott right side of your screen.
Yeah, just like we saw with Brian Vickers, Elliott really up right next to the wall. This is up in turns 1 and 2. Just loses traction.
Seems like
nice job.
A lot of guys keep moving up and up and up, trying to find that little bit of grip, but there's just a fine line that you can't cross up there.
Now on this caution flag, this is going to be a big break for the 99 car. There's Carl Edwards, who finished second last year. He gets the Lucky Dog free pass, the first car a lap down, so he'll be able to go by the pace car and get back on the lead lap. That'll give us 24 cars on the lead lap. Leaders last on pit road in lap 127. That's 20 laps to go. They're all going to want fresh rubber. Headed down to you, Shannon.
Jeff Gordon pulls his 24 car into the pit stall. He says right now he's still just a little bit tight in the middle, but a little bit of strategy, guys. Steve Letarte is calling for 2 tires only on this 24 car. Vince.
The 48 discussed 2 tires, but Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson agreed on 4. Those tires had just 17 laps on them. Said he started a little snug that run, thought it might tighten up, but it stayed right with him. A good run for the 48. Dave?
And guys, Juan Pablo Montoya running in the second position. They're just going to make a slight air pressure adjustment for a car that was too tight. As fast as he was running, it still wouldn't turn the way he wanted it to, so it's an air pressure adjustment. He's going to go for 4. They talked about doing 2. And now he goes for 4. Tony Stewart, by the way, did take 2.
Saw some different pit strategy there, Andy. 2 tires for these guys here. We saw 4 tires from Montoya and Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to do that because they only had 20 laps or so on those left side tires. And we saw how well that worked for Greg Biffle earlier in the race.
Jeff Gordon a little longer in the pits than he wanted to be in that 24 car. Let's show you what happened to this team here. Now watch the right front.
There's only 5 lug nuts on there, and you got to get them all off. Look like you hit about 9 of them.
Yeah, he couldn't get that one. It was being pretty stubborn right there. That's really costly when you have 7 or 8 other cars that are getting 2 tires also.
Under caution for the 5th time today, coming out on lap 147, the spin by the 19 car. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Under caution here in the Price Chopper 400 at Kansas. Race number 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. They've cycled through pit stops, and Greg Biffle is our leader. Tony Stewart second. And we told you about the Jeff Gordon pit stop, and there's the reason for the loss.
Yeah, you can see 2 seconds or more there they lost on that right side stop. And when you just change 2 tires and you lose 2 seconds, it costs you dearly. Greg Biffle's going to be the leader with that 6.1 2-tire stop. Now you see Jeff Gordon coming in. You see our clock starts right when the car stops, and the right side goes up. And now when the jack man drops the jack, you're going to see the clock stop.
So
8.3 seconds.
When normally a 2-tire stop, you're talking about 5 to 6.
Yeah, you want to be under 7 seconds every time you change 2 tires. And, you know, a 6-second stop is a good stop. And I've seen some guys make it, you know, even under 6 seconds. You got to be perfect to do that.
Yeah, 3 cars stayed out there and got the wave around that time. The 7, the 88, and the 96. That gets Dale Jr. back just 1 lap down right now.
117 laps to go. Glad to have you with us here at Kansas Speedway. Stop number 3 in the chase. Greg Biffle brings them back down to the green flag. If you just joined our coverage, Biffle started back in 31st position and drove this car aggressively and has now led 5 times for 34 laps. Tony Stewart in second, Denny Hamlin third. There's Mark Martin in the 5 car on the bottom.
Boy, Jimmy Johnson's kind of in a hornet's nest here after taking 4 tires. He finds himself way back here battling a lot of cars.
Back in 11th position, there comes Jimmy.
It's a risky spot to be in, and right now is when he has to tiptoe a little bit. Because just about anything can happen in front of you on these restarts.
It can, but he started 11th in this race, so he's been in this position before. He's got a fast race car. I think he'll probably just take his time, knows he can work his way back up front.
Got Montoya, the 42, the 18 of Kyle Busch. Look at Casey Kane now trying to move on the inside of the 48 car.
Now, you see, the only problem with Jimmy's going to have is some of these other guys are not going to be so patient, and they're right in front of him. If they take each other out, he can get wrapped up in it here.
Casey says, I'm not going to wait on you. I got to pass these cars while I can. So now Casey on the bottom of the racetrack trying to get inside of Jimmy, and that would be for the 11th spot. Casey Kane running the old R5 Dodge engine, the new Dodge engine. They had the issue with the broken crank at New Hampshire, so they decided to run the older engine here and maybe for the rest of the year, and performing very well. Here's Jeff Gordon going by the 5 car. That's for 4th position.
Let's look. Greg Biffle ran the fastest lap of his race so far, the last lap, or 31.76 on those two right side tires.
I know they're eventually going to have to put less on that thing, but I think I'd go for 2 as much as possible with Greg Biffle.
His car likes 2 tires.
A very good run by the 07 car of Casey Mears. Casey has a history of running very well at this racetrack. He has 2 top 5s and 3 top 10 finishes. In fact, Casey led 29 laps in this race a year ago and finished second to Tony Stewart here back in 2006. See the progression for Casey. I talked to him in the garage area yesterday afternoon, and they were pretty excited about the prospects of this 07 getting a sponsor for next year. Their current sponsor going away, and thought that this team was really starting to work hard. None of the Richard Childress cars made it in the chase this year, but they think they have come a long way in the past month. See the 2 car of Kurt Busch now easing in there. See Jimmy Johnson, Marcus Ambrose. That's 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Ambrose not giving it up easy either.
Now, he's run pretty solid all day long, so just looks like that this might not be working exactly to his liking with the 2 tires on his car this time, but been pretty solid all day.
See Tony Stewart now making some headway to the front. He's caught Greg Biffle.
Yeah, we've seen Tony's car be pretty strong all day, and he's going to start flexing a little bit of muscle. Show us maybe exactly what he does have.
Looks like Greg Biffle tries to run the bottom after these restarts, and his car just doesn't like that bottom lane of the racetrack as much as it does later in the run when he can run the top. See, Casey Mears now trying to make another move.
Left side of your screen, Mears trying to take the 7th spot away. And right side, you see Biffle trying to hold off Tony Stewart, who has led 3 laps already today.
And Casey Mears is able to make that pass. Here comes Montoya to David Rudiman now.
And Rudiman going way up high. Down on the bottom of the racetrack is Montoya and the 18 of Kyle Busch and the 9 of Casey Kane.
I think something we saw in that restart, Andy, is just what you've been pointing out as we watch Tony try to take the lead from Greg Biffle here, but just showing Montoya once again being the aggressive one on these restarts, and it's got him quite a bit further up in the pack than Jimmy Johnson at this point in time.
Yeah, he's put 3 cars between himself and Jimmy Johnson.
Tony Stewart down on the bottom of the racetrack trying to hold down there, and here comes Biffle back again and powers him up in the outside groove and retakes that position.
We saw Jimmy Johnson try to make this pass for the lead on Greg Biffle for quite a while and wasn't able to do it. Tony looks like he's trying his hand. You can see him slide up out of the corner. Just can't get that run that you need.
You can see Clint Boyer. He's the first car 1 lap down. Racing right there with Brad Keselowski.
Brad Keselowski trying to get back in the mix a little bit there. He's in 15th position. On the right side there, Tony Stewart has not had a top 5 finish since his win at Watkins Glen 7 races ago. He went 5 races without even a top 10 finish and finally got back in the top 10 last week with that 9th place finish at Dover, Delaware.
See him once again just have to slide right in behind Greg Biffle as Biffle gets the better run off the corner.
Seems like Biffle gets going after he gets forced up there when they're racing for the lead, and then his car just gets going pretty good.
Well, he really got high down in 1 and 2 there. Tony's able to get up beside him again down the back straightaway. See, Tony's going to try to put a slide job on him. I think he's sliding, but I don't know if it's going to work.
He's sliding.
All the way up, and Biffle comes back around by.
Whoa, that's good stuff right there. These guys look in their mirror, they'll find that Denny Hamlin's starting to close in on them also.
Well, Greg Biffle driving like a man possessed. We told you he had not won a race in over a year now. His last win coming last fall at Dover, Delaware. Biffle now our leader here as we will have just over 100 laps to go. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Coverage beginning with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern Time. I don't know what more you could say about Brett Favre when you look at his numbers and what he's done in the National Football League. What more is there for him to do except coming back and keep winning football games?
Well, as long as he keeps coming back and going away and coming back. But I tell you what, he's got a running back, Adrian Peterson, baby. You better keep an eye on him.
Be interesting to see how that one turns out. A lot of eyes on that one on Monday night. So there's the race for the lead. Greg Biffle and Tony Stewart. You see Biffle's been able to put a little bit more of a gap on Stewart in the last couple of minutes. Here is a race for the 5th and 6th positions. Juan Pablo Montoya trying to hold off Mark Martin for that spot. Remember, Mark started on the pole. He has been shuffled back into the pack just a little bit. Greg Biffle came into this race 9th in the championship standings, 138 points off Mark Martin's lead after just 2 races. He knows he's got to start making something happen now.
You know, you've got to perform right now. You've got to finish in the top 10 at least every single race to have an opportunity 4 or 5 races from now to not be out of it. So it's all or nothing right now.
Amazing thing about Greg Biffle today, he started back in 31st position. His team using a 2-tire stop to get him some track position back on lap number 71, and he hasn't been far from the lead ever since that point. Let's get you up to speed on how the 12 drivers in the chase for the Sprint Cup are faring in Kansas today. With 97 laps to go, we go to Biffle's pit and Vince.
Well, and Alan, they're about 20 laps into this stint on these 2 tires on the right side. Greg Biffle said he still needs a little more grip in the rear. He also has some right rear damage from scraping the wall during the last stint. Said the car has been a bit too loose. That's been his only complaint, but boy, it has really worked well on 2 tires, and he's run well here in the past. Won it in 2007, 3rd last year, and strong here today. Dave?
And Vince, remember, Tony Stewart had the same amount of new tires from that pit stop, just 2. Hasn't been able to pass him yet, but sure gave it a good go. Darren Druppy, crew chief, told me this morning, I wonder what's going to happen when the sun comes out and the track gets slicker. Well, their car has gotten better, and they've adjusted well to it. Jamie?
And Denny Hamlin running 3rd right now. Mike Ford, his crew chief, told me last week was just one of those horrible weekends where you just take those notes, throw them out the window. They went 2 laps down on their own. They said they are here to rebound this weekend. It's been a great car. He's moving his way up. They've made up positions in the pits. Last 2 pit stops, they took right sides only, Vince.
Jeff Gordon in the 24 team. Right now, he is on 2 tires. This car has been a handful all day. It's been tight with no grip. It is starting to get a little bit better after making some major changes across the board. Steve Letarte told me this morning that this team does have what it takes to win a championship. They just haven't executed how they have to do it in order to win it. Dave?
Juan Pablo Montoya's worst lap of the weekend, qualifying according to the crew chief, just 1 that got away. Ever since then, he's run near, and before that, he's run near the top of the charts, running very well today. Just a little bit tight all day long, and they've been adjusting to try to get that out of the race car as he continues that high line. Behind him, Mark Martin took just 2 tires on that last stop, and he has fallen from the 3rd restart position backwards. It's been a tough weekend for these guys. Alan Gustafson told me this morning they never got the balance and the comfort just right for Mark. The speed was pretty close to where the front runners were running, but without that balance and that comfort, they've been chasing it just a little bit. Vince?
In the 7th spot is Casey Kane, and Kane is having a good run. You know, he was 5th after the restart at the beginning of the chase, but then he had that crankshift failure at Loudon 2 weeks ago, damaged his chances out of the gate. But when this team has been running, it has been running well. And right now, it's another good, strong run for Casey Kane. He complained earlier in the race that he wasn't very good at the beginning of the restarts, but the car is singing along now in 7th. The 48 car of Jimmy Johnson, well, his crew chief, Chad Knaus, doesn't make many mistakes, but Knaus came on the radio just a few moments ago and apologized. He said, Jimmy, I'm sorry. I made a bad call on that last pit stop. We should have taken 2 tires. He's added some front brake to help the loose off, but that's what the 48's dealing with right now. Jamie?
And Kurt Busch has jumped up to the 10th position. Pat Trice and his crew chief told me they showed up this weekend so far off. This car was horrible. They qualified 39th. He said after testing at Rockingham last week, they actually learned something that they put on this car yesterday, ran it in practice, and the car was much better. Now, the day has been kind of up and down. He's been extremely loose in that last pit stop. 4 tires, but it was extremely slow. He's trying to make it up on the track, Dave.
And Carl Edwards Williams running back in the 16th position now. That is a pickup, of course, from where he was earlier. Been back in the 20s after a speeding penalty and a car that just hasn't been working well for him. Mostly loose all day long. Just checked with the crew, and he says it's better than last time, but it's still just a little bit loose.
Ryan Newman running 27th on the racetrack right now. Tony Gibson, his crew chief, told me today that this team's motto is don't stop fighting, and they haven't all day. Despite starting 30th, battling no grip and a pit road speeding penalty, they are still hanging in there, and they are fighting for every position on the racetrack. Now, Brian Vickers currently 35th. Right now, he is saying he may have an engine problem. This has been a very bad day for this 83 car. They started 12th. Handling was terrible on the car, so they came down early and made some chassis adjustments. They restarted 29th and have not been able to rebound. Right now, though, guys, he is saying that the engine is missing, so it may be getting a little bit worse for the 83. Alan?
As Vickers goes another lap down to the leader, Greg Biffle, who goes by, and Vickers again trapped well back. He's also had a spin out today too. Been a tough day for Brian. So as you look at the championship standings, cross the ticker on the top of the screen, lets you know that 6 of the 12 in the chase for the Sprint Cup have led at least one lap today, collecting those bonus points toward the championship. And as they run on the track, it's Mark Martin up by 14 points over Jimmy Johnson. Johnson now running in 8th spot, Martin 7th on the track. They're all chasing Greg Biffle, who leads with 88 laps to go.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Okay, who had the opposite sex repellent meal? Me. More of me to love combo?
Yeah.
Where did my neck go platter? And the I'm not fat, I'm husky special.
What are you really getting with greasy fast food? Instead, try a Spice-alicious new low-fat buffalo chicken sub at Subway. Now part of a Subway Fresh Fit meal. It's a simple way to enjoy eating better.
Ooh, empty calories.
It's Chevy Truck Month, and that means full-size deals on full-size trucks. Like Silverado, backed by America's best coverage. And with the lowest cost of ownership of any full-size pickup, it's America's best value, too. Now, during Chevy Truck Month, get 0% APR for 60 months or $6,000 total cash back on select 2009 Silverado vehicles in stock. See your local Chevy dealer.
Cobalt tools are so tough you'll never have to stop working.
They did. What are you doing now, Jimmy? Wiring, Chad.
Cobalt, the next generation of tough tools. Available exclusively at Lowe's.
Enhance your race viewing experience with Track Pass Race View. Try it free for 10 minutes at NASCAR.com/raceview now.
And now Sprint brings you an inside look at the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on the Now Network. Our current top 3 in the points. Mark Martin is our points leader, and then 14 back is the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, and then 56 back is the 42 of one Pablo Montoya. Our biggest mover, how about the Biff from 31st starting spot all the way to the lead here in that 16 car, brand new car they built specifically with this racetrack in mind. The 83 car, they are under the hood. You heard them talking a moment ago and are up to speed. They were talking about the car missing, and now they have brought it down pit road and are talking.
Put 4 tires on it.
For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed.
David's out right.
Greg Biffle, our leader, and folks, he won this race here 2 years ago, and he did it by very on fumes. Did it on fuel mileage, having to coast across. Now, we were sitting there doing some calculations, and crew chief Andy Petrie, if we stay green and they make one more stop, how close will it be? Hang on 1 second. We'll watch the 88 car coming in there.
Yeah,
Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, this 88 car stayed out taking that wave around after being 2 laps down, and now he's having to make a green flag stop because he's low on fuel. they'll get some Sunoco fuel in there and get him back out.
So as you watch his stop being completed, let's talk about fuel mileage here with our leader, Greg Biffle. 2 of the last 3 races here have been decided by fuel mileage. And if we make a green flag stop here, how close will it be?
Well, it'll be fairly close. If you can get 4.7 miles per gallon, you can make it on one more stop. That's doable, very doable. They'll have to go to lap 209, or they're very close to lap 209 on this run to be able to make it the rest of the way. So we'll be watching who can do that. If we see cars peeling off before that, we'll know that they may have to make another stop.
Doable, you mean with probably 1 lap to spare if we don't have a green-white checker?
Yeah, we're hearing that some cars may pit as early as 2:05, and that'd be their last stop. That means they're going to have to get a little better than that 4.7. They'll probably have to get about 4.8 or 9 to make that.
Tony Stewart, the other driver who won here on fuel mileage back in 2006. Back then they had a bigger fuel tank, had a 22-gallon tank, and he ran 71 laps. Can't do that anymore with the current tank that's just under 19 gallons.
And all that can go out the window if we have another caution. But that's where we stand right now.
80 laps to go. We've had 5 caution flags, 21 lead changes among 12 different drivers, and right now our biggest mover, the Biff, Greg Biffle, from 31st to the lead, has led the most laps. Biffle has led 5 times for 71 laps today at Kansas. Just 75 laps remaining here in the Price Chopper 400 at Kansas Speedway. And the top 9 cars are all chase contenders. Greg Biffle is our leader, Tony Stewart second, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, and Juan Pablo Montoya. Now, we mentioned that 2 of the last 3 races here have been won on fuel mileage. And let's bring our experts in, Rusty and Brad and Alan downstairs. What about the fact, you guys have been watching and doing some calculating too. How close do you think it will be here on this final stop?
Well, guys, I've been watching lap after, pit stop after pit stop. Has been 55 laps, about the max for most of these guys. If they're going to try to get to the fuel window to make it in one more stop, to me, Andy and guys, and Brad and everybody at the table here, we're going to have to go into fuel conserve mode. You're going to have to stretch this thing, roll out the throttle a little bit, save some gas to get them to that point. But right now, I haven't seen anybody do that. It's been 55 max at the moment.
Yeah, you're right. And we thought that we would see some cars go to 60 laps, but that's not happening. The 47 car, for instance, can only go 54 laps. So you're right at that 54, 54 and a half, 55 laps. You're going to have to be very, very conservative to make it.
Well, we haven't seen anybody demonstrate the ability to go a 60 or 62 laps, but nobody has had to yet. So this will actually make them play their hand right here. If they can go to lap 208, 207, or 208, then we'll know.
Exactly right, Andy. That's what they're going to have to do. They haven't had to do it. Now they have to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if they start slowing up their lap times, feathering in and out of the throttle, as Dale Jarrett knows well how to do.
And we are hearing, Rusty, that the 2, the 48, and the 42 are now saying lap 205 is when they will have to be on pit road.
Well, that's going to make it interesting then.
Wow.
Going to be another caution.
Now, you have the 5 car in that group as well.
Everything out of
no, numbers say going to be another caution. 5 out of 8 times there's a caution in the last 20 laps
that
here.
That changes everything.
Yeah.
So the fuel mileage continues to be a question mark here at Kansas Speedway, and it has the last 2 of the last 3 years. It's dictated the driver going to victory lane.
Yeah, Alan's right. You know, there probably is going to be another caution, but the crew chiefs on the pit boxes are figuring it this way. I mean, they have to figure every angle. If the caution doesn't come out, then what? You know, they have to plan for that. So that's what they're doing down there. And if the caution comes out, then they start changing their plan.
Yeah, and if this all transpires, we're going to have to make these green flag stops. The drivers are going to be knowing right from the beginning that they're going to have to save some fuel if they're going to have any chance of that happening. And in Jimmy Johnson's case here, he got 4 tires last time. It's really not going to be an option. They've run too many laps now. He's going to have to give 4 tires again, so they've really put themselves in a box, and it hurt their chances, unless a caution does come out, of trying to win this race.
Remember what happened in Michigan. Jimmy Johnson and others, Mark Martin, they gambled and they lost, and it really cost them some valuable positions on the racetrack here. Crew chiefs making decisions down there. Greg Biffle's guys trying to think about it, as are Tony Stewart's guys. In fact, Biffle and Stewart are the 2 guys that have won races here on fuel mileage. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Back back in Kansas. The third race in the chase. We're winding down to the final laps. The 16 of Greg Biffle came in as your leader, getting a quarter round a wedge in and 4 tires. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson. He's been at the front today too, but a tire call of 4 tires instead of 2 put him to the back of the pack, put him mid-range, about 11th and 12th place. Now he's getting 4 tires again. Jimmy Johnson, will this be enough fuel and tire to get him to the end? Shannon, you've got the 24.
Jeff Gordon says the car is still tight in the middle and loose off. You see these guys going to work on the car. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on this 24 car. Try to get Jeff Gordon hooked up and try to get him to the front of this race, guys.
And this is going to make it very close. I don't know how they can make it from here without some help with some caution flags. Vince, 00 pit.
David Rudiman been battling a loose race car all day long. They're going to put half a round a wedge out of the left rear, 4 tires and fuel. The car has been good. He's been running up around the top 10, but it's just been so loose. He doesn't feel like he's been able to make any significant moves. All things considered, a pretty good day for David Rudiman and this crew.
Guys, Mark Martin way back there, just pitting right now in that bright yellow car. During this run, Mark's car, he said he needed it to turn a little bit more. 4 tires should free it up, he says. So they'll definitely take 4 unless they change their mind right in the middle. Trying to get Mark just a little bit better turning for this final run. It will be 4 tires and full of fuel for Mark on this. 99 of Carl Edwards is in as well. Carl had been running back in the teens after falling back. They will take 4 tires as well for Carl. Wedge and air pressure adjustment for that car. It's still a little free, but it is better. Vince.
Casey Kane in the 9 car. His major complaint throughout the course of the day just needs more rear grip. It's still the same way. They're going to make a wedge adjustment. 4 tires and Sunoco fuel for the 9 of Casey Kane.
Tony Stewart now just coming on the pit road. He was our leader, and here comes the 44 car of Allmendinger. A.J. Allmendinger coming off that 7th place finish at Dover, Delaware, having another good run today, being shown here in the top 10.
I'm watching all these cars pit and also watching the cars that are not pitting. You got the 11 car still on the racetrack.
Dave.
The 14 of Stewart and the 42 of Montoya just misses Allmendinger coming into pit road. They wanted to keep them out as long as they could. The 14 not complaining anything about the chassis. It'll be 4 tires and fuel. Montoya was tight. They'll make an adjustment for Juan Pablo. The 14 keeps it fired. Juan Pablo Montoya's guys now going around to the left side of the car. He keeps it fired as well, and they are among those who stopped the latest. Can they go to the end? Jamie.
And Denny Hamlin in the 11 says he's just now getting tight air pressure adjustment in the right rear. 4 tires this time for Denny Hamlin, who worked his way up to the 2nd spot. And Kyle Busch, guys, been complaining that his car has been getting slow, but the balance has been good all day. They've just been lacking speed. You see the M&M's car there pulling into his spot. Steve Addington on the box calling the shots. It's going to be 4 tires. You see the wrench in the back. They're making a chassis adjustment there, trying to loosen them up and get them a little bit more speed, guys.
2 car coming in now. Thank you, Jamie. Kurt Busch, the older brother, coming in. He was being shown as our leader. He will come down for what will be his stop.
Yeah, remember this now. These are the last cars to pit. The 2 car Kurt Busch and the 07 of Casey Mears. Jamie?
And Kurt Busch has been extremely loose. 4 tires this time. Now the team is saying they are going to be able to make it to the end. That's why they extended this to lap 207. So guys, different strategies playing out down here. We'll see how it works out for Kurt Busch at the end of the day.
There's the 07 coming out. Remember, Casey Mears actually rolled the dice a couple of years ago and finished 2nd on fuel mileage, right behind Tony Stewart, so he's very good at saving gas. And DJ, as a driver now, if you know you're this close, I guess the fuel conservation mode begins right now.
Yeah, it has to start right now, even getting up to speed. You want to get up to speed and going, but you have to start rolling out of the throttle, getting into these corners, even a little bit down the straightaway. You don't want to give up too much time, but these guys have already given up a lot to the leader by waiting this long to come in, as these other guys were running fast lap times. So be interesting to see who can make it.
Yeah, they're already playing their hand, like you say, by staying out that long. You lose a lot of time by doing it, but you say, hey, it's worth it if we can make it on no more stops, and the caution does not come out. Pays off big dividend.
Battle here on the racetrack. Montoya trying to go by the 11 of Hamlin for 6th position. But Andy, a big differential here between lap 202 when Jimmy Johnson and Biffle and Keselowski, those guys came in lap 208 when we saw Kurt Busch and Casey Mears.
Yeah, if you're looking at the 48 car is ahead of these cars because he made that early pit stop on tires, so he's able to gain some track position. He gained a couple of spots there by doing that.
Yeah, but I think these guys can't make it. They committed early. They're saying, hey, we can't make it from here. About the last 6 cars that we saw, the 11, 2, 14, 42, 18, and 07, those are the guys that I think that we have to keep an eye on that are saying, we're going to gamble and see if we can make this work.
Yeah, and when that caution does come out, please keep Alan Bestwick's mic close so we don't have to hear him say, I told you so.
Alan talking about the fact in the final 20 laps we have had a caution here in 5 of the 8 races over the years here at Kansas Speedway, so everyone's expecting at least one more yellow flag here in the final stages.
If we could call up Ray Evernham, he probably tells exactly what lap.
Yeah, he knows exactly what lap it comes out.
Let's update the 42, Dave.
Doc, here's what his crew chief is telling driver Juan Pablo Montoya. Once you get established, then save me a couple of laps of fuel. We've seen that before. These guys get racy until they feel like there's a position that they can settle into and not get past and not have to work too hard to keep the position and then start saving fuel. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You want to just get out there, get the speed while it's there in the tires and everything, make those spots up, and then when you get a gap, then try to save a little fuel.
What about Greg Biffle? Now, he did come in on lap 202, and these cars here, the Roush cars, aren't known for getting that great a fuel mileage.
Now, he's going to have to make another pit stop, so Greg is now, he's hoping the averages work out in his favor and the caution does come out.
Rusty?
And I tell you what, guys, he pitted on 202. I mean, he's been running 55 laps of max. I got him in at 257. He's a solid 10 laps short. But the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Kurt Busch, and Casey Mears, those guys can make it.
They got a half a dozen cars that may be able to go the way, as you heard Rusty and DJ talking about it. And wow, I tell you, very interesting here. Amazing how one racetrack can over the years be known as a fuel mileage track, with 2 of the last 3 races here settled in the final laps by drivers on fumes. Take a look at the winless streaks over the years. You see Greg Biffle 36 races ago. His last win in Dover, September a year ago. At Kansas Speedway, less than 50 laps to go. Greg Biffle is our leader. And folks, we have a brand new record here for lead changes. The old record was 2004, 24 lead changes. We've now had 25 different lead changes among 14 different drivers. And Greg Biffle, who started back in 31st position, has now led 6 times for a total of 94 laps. But the big question now is fuel mileage. These guys that pitted on lap 202 to 207, 208, the guys that came in earlier like Jimmy Johnson and Greg Biffle probably can't make it. And the guys like Tony Stewart and the 9 car of Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, Kyle Busch, they may be able to go the distance.
Yeah, here in the next 15 or 20 laps, though, we're going to hear a lot of spotters from those guys up front that can't make it, talking about a lot of debris that their drivers are complaining about there out on the racetrack. Amazing, every little piece of something that you see, you're pretty sure that that's something that could create a problem out there.
And here's the problem, you know, if you gamble right now, you don't just lose the race, you lose a chance at possibly a championship. This chase is so tight. We told you just 10 points separating the top 2, just 189 points separating all 12 drivers coming in here to Kansas.
Yeah, but there's guys like Denny Hamlin and Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch there that if they're going to make that gamble, this is a big time because they know that Jimmy Johnson and probably Mark Martin can't make this. And those are the guys that had the bullseye on them because they were so far out in front of everybody else. Not so far, but they certainly had separated themselves a little bit. So this is an opportunity to really kind of steal a lot of points, if you will.
And that's what we're talking about, a gamble really paying off. If you were just trying to get a solid finish, you wouldn't try to stretch that and maybe try to get that win. But with them not being able to make it, it's worth a shot to try to gain some point.
Yeah, I've watched Jimmy Johnson here and running Montoya pretty hard. Just wonder if he's trying to make him use up some more fuel than what he was really wanting to at that particular time.
Let's check in where Shannon is caught up with Brian Vickers.
Well, guys, he was a Cinderella story of the chase. I know this chase has not started the way that you guys have wanted it to. Now you're back in the garage with an engine. Can you guys rebound in the next 8 races?
Anything's possible. I mean, obviously, we're off to a slow start. The Hendrick cars are really, starting to walk away with the chase. But, they've done a good job. just want to get out of Kansas, to be honest with you. It's been a long weekend for me, but you know, I thought we had a good car today, and we started out a little tight. You know, and it got worse and worse and worse. We never could get a handle on it. And then I was up on top of the track trying to chase grip, trying to find some grip, and I got in the marbles and lost. And that was completely my fault. And I feel bad about it. Hate it for the guys, but we just weren't as good as a whole as we needed to be today. We just absolutely weren't. And you know, the engine was the only thing that just put us out of our misery. But you know, it's not what we wanted, obviously. We were really looking to get to a mile and a half and have a good run, but what do you do?
All right, we regroup and we go to Fontana. Guys?
Well, thinking 3 wide a moment ago. Jimmy Johnson in between Montoya and Gordon, and they're still in there.
4 wide.
Here goes Montoya on the bottom of the racetrack. That's Elliott Sadler up high. And Mark Martin said, I'm going to play.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the 42's trying to save any fuel right there. Wow, that's great racing.
That's 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th right on your screen there. Martin now pulling right to the rear deck of the 48 of Johnson.
See, again, after they get a few laps on the tires, how difficult it is to make that pass down on the inside.
There's the points differential there. It was 10 points when the day began. It's 6 points now with Johnson back in second and Montoya 57 back in third. Final laps here at Kansas Speedway. 42 laps to go. A lot of people thinking about, do I have enough fuel to make it? And can I afford to gamble to get there to the checkered flag?
Boy, what a race these guys have going. Now, they're not able to save fuel while they're racing this hard. You know, and Jeff Gordon, he's not giving any quarter to these guys because he wants to try to keep them behind him.
Now, I think we've seen these 3 Hendrick cars that we're looking at in here. They have pretty much said we can't make it to the end when they made their pit stop. But Montoya is the one in this group that we wondered if he was going to be able to as long as they stayed out. He's racing awful hard to be saving fuel.
Yeah, he's kind of forced into racing hard here. He either has to try to get by these cars and get a gap where he can save some fuel or let them go. It's kind of a hard decision, really.
Tough balance because, you know, you sit there racing, you don't want to give up these spots in case the caution does come out because then you're behind these guys. But if you're trying to save fuel on the other side of it, then you've got to be careful or you'll run yourself out before the end of the race.
So Montoya, the one of these 4 cars that we think may be able to make it. The other 3 we think are going to be a little bit shy. Now, Greg Biffle has clinched the bonus points for leading the most laps. And, folks, the leader of the most laps has won here 3 times. 40 laps to go here at Kansas.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Chevy, Bank of America, the official bank of NASCAR, and Budweiser. Reach for the perfect combination of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
September 21st, 2008. That's the last time Greg Biffle went to victory lane at Dover, Delaware over a year ago. He has now led the most laps here at Kansas Speedway and is trying to hold on, but the big question is fuel mileage, and he may not be able to make it. Now, who will make our Gillette in the clutch move? We do have 4 chase drivers that may be able to make it on fuel. Tony Stewart is one of them. Remember, he came in and pitted and would have to be very, very close for Stewart to make it. He has won here on fuel mileage back in 2006. Also among the chasers, the 11 car may roll the dice. Denny Hamlin. Remember, he lost those 3 positions in the chase last week at Dover after finishing back in 22nd position. Boy, could he gain ground in a hurry if he gets good fuel mileage and can pull off the win here. And what about Juan Pablo Montoya? Back-to-back top 5 finishes in the chase, but he has never won on an oval track. Could he get to victory lane here today by using fuel mileage? And behind them, the 2 car of Kurt Busch, who was one of the last cars to come on pit road on lap 208. He should be able to make it the rest of the way. To find out how your favorite athletes prepare for success, go to ESPN.com, search Locker Room Report. No power for the 88 car, just coasting down pit road. Dale Earnhardt Jr. headed to his pits.
Man, hate seeing that hood go up, especially if you're Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin. Yeah, and what started out as such a promising
Belts
day.
came off. Belts off the oil pump.
Belts off the oil pump. Yeah, there. That's probably good news for the rest of the competitors that run these engines. Something probably knocked that belt off. It's not something that would necessarily affect the other teammates. Still bad news for Junior.
Yeah, he had led 41 laps today, folks, and came down pit road on what seemed to be a routine pit stop. They left a lug nut off the left rear. He had to come back in and lost a lap, and has been planning to play catch-up ever since.
We're done.
So Junior will head to the garage area. Here comes Biffle. Clicking off laps. It'll be 31 to go as they come by.
Yeah, ever since Ryan Newman caught him about 10 laps ago, he's been riding his bumper. We got caution.
We are hearing fluid on the racetrack from the 88 car. And that'll be a break for several drivers. There's the 88 car headed back to the garage area.
Andy.
Yeah, I know. Alan.
Are you thinking it?
Yeah, I heard it already.
So now the question is, track position, tires, fuel, and what do people do? This could be wild, huh?
Yeah, this can be quite interesting right here. A lot of decisions to be made down on pit road. You know, and Biffle's car has been great on 2 tires. The only thing that would come into play for Irwin to make this decision is they've probably run more laps on these lefts than they have any other time during the race. What do you want, Rusty, 2 or 4?
If I'm Greg Biffle, I'll take 2, and everybody else I want 4, Andy. He's the only guy that really gets flying on those 2 tires, so it'll probably work for him, but I'm afraid that Jimmy Johnson, Gordon, guys like that. No, I'm going to take that back. Johnson, you know, he probably needs 2 tires right now to get up front.
Yeah, I think so too, but hey, Brad, how about your car? What are you putting on your board?
I'm going to take, if I'm Greg Biffle, I'm going to take 2 tires. He loves a loose race car. A loose race car is a fast race car, and I think old Biff can keep that thing up front on 2.
All right, we're getting ready to find out. I'm going to give, if I'm Biffle, I'm taking 2, and if I'm Johnson, I'm taking 2. This is the time he needs to get that position back.
DJ, what do you want as a driver?
Yeah, it all depends on my car. I'd love to have 4 tires in this situation, but I think that we've seen 2 tires work. We're going to see most of those guys up front take 2 tires here.
I'm thinking 2. What are you thinking? 33 to go. 10-4, 30 to go right now, 30.
You can see how hard that decision is to make now. They're still talking about it, and they're at the entrance.
It's up to you guys.
Oh, okay. Lateral back to Greg Irwin from Greg Biffle. Here they come, 45 miles an hour. What should be the final stop of the day. Shannon.
Steve Letarte calling for 4 tires and half a can of fuel. Just some small jack bar adjustments for the 24. Vince.
You heard the debate with the 16 team. Are they going to take 2 tires or 4? They've decided now they're going to take 4. Greg Irwin has made the call, so 4 tires and fuel for the 16. Jamie?
And the debate was going on for the 11 and Denny Hamlin. The call is 4 tires, fuel. He said, loosen me up. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on the back, and 2 for the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, guys.
Guys, Tony Stewart said, let's do what we did 2 stops ago. That was 2 tires.
That was the call right there. You see 2 tires. Stewart gets the lead.
Casey Kane taking 2. Jimmy Johnson. You see
3 spots for Jimmy Johnson by taking 2 tires.
And you see the guys that took 4 tires. I think Biffle losing 3 positions by taking the 2 left sides.
Biffle will regret that one, I think. But, you know, the main thing, we just haven't seen his car be that good on 4 tires.
Under caution, we'll reset the field when we come back after this message and a word from our ABC station. "27 laps to go here at Kansas Speedway. Tony Stewart is our leader. We're under caution for the 6th time today. Folks, there's never a dull moment when you listen to Juan Pablo Montoya on the radio. Listen in.
Not fine at all. I can't even make it work. That's freaking incredible.
Relax, focus, 34-0, 80 in front.
If you were driving this right now, you wouldn't be telling me that.
You're right, that's why you get paid more. Focus, dude, P8. Big picture.
Exactly, big picture, you should hit them.
Now, following that on pit road, they had a decent pit stop. They've changed the car a little bit, hopefully back to Juan Pablo's liking, and then they laughed together about a couple of different things. It's all good, they said to each other. Brian says sometimes he gets to me when he criticizes the car because that's a part of me, but you know what? He's a lot better than he used to be.
Good stuff.
There's definitely a mutual respect there, Brian Patty and Juan Pablo Montoya, and whatever they have, it is working because these guys have had top 5 after top 5 here in both races in the chase thus far in 2009.
Tony Stewart's chosen the outside lane here. It's the first time we've seen that today.
Now we're going to see how Greg Irvin's decision shakes out here. Biffle is the first car that has 4 tires.
And he right now is being shown in 4th position. It is Stewart, Kane, Johnson, and Biffle. Hamlin, Gordon, Martin, Montoya, and Kurt Busch. The top 9 cars are all chase contenders.
Man, Jimmy Johnson just pulled out
here now. Look at Biffle
right there.
Biffle on the outside.
Look at Biffle riding high, wide, and handsome on the outside of the 9 car, trying to get that second spot away. And Stewart is pulled away by 15 car lengths.
Jimmy Johnson diving back to the inside on Casey Kane.
Jeff Gordon going in the middle there between Kane and Johnson.
A little bump drafting going on there, too.
Yeah, and this is the first time Jimmy Johnson's had 2 tires on his car today, so he doesn't really know what to expect from it. Oh, he gets loose into one. Almost gets into Jeff Gordon.
Denny Hamlin has to back out to keep him running all over the 48 car. 3 wide here. Marcus Ambrose in the middle. Davis Tremy on the bottom of the racetrack. Jeff Burton up high. There
Ambrose getting up into Burton. Backs out of it.
See those tar strips, and Ambrose's car wobbled a little bit. 11 and 48. Battle for 6th position. Johnson and Hamlin again, and Hamlin will go by.
Tony Stewart ran his fastest lap of the race last lap.
All these guys right now are seeing they're gaining points because they've got the 48 and the 5 in their rearview mirrors.
We're here in the 77 car. Hornish may have brushed the wall.
Kurt Busch. It's like really loose coming off of turn 4.
Trying to get up and pass on the high side right up against the concrete. Here's Montoya now trying to get down, look in between the 24 and the 9. That's 3rd, 4th, and 5th position with Hamlin coming in 6th spot to the right of your screen. Now back to the 2 car, and we'll show you what happened to Kurt Busch. There's the 42 of Montoya trying to make the pass. And Casey Kane's going to hold him off. I'll show you what happened to Kurt Busch just about a lap and a half ago here in the corner.
See, really gets back into the gas hard trying to get to the outside of Mark Martin, but wow, watch it. Look at his hands inside the car. Everything but wreck right there. Almost had a little problem with his brother getting into it. And Kyle was just trying to avoid him. Hoped that he wasn't going to spin down in front of him.
So Kyle Busch is 10th, Edwards is 11th, and Kurt Busch is 12th. Meanwhile, back here, that's the left side of your screen. Right side of your screen, Hamlin all the way down on the bottom of the racetrack on the apron to make the pass.
Clears him.
Wow, that's a power move right there. See Montoya right back on his bumper, though, trying to go back to the inside of Denny Hamlin.
Great racing here in the final 25 laps at Kansas Speedway. Folks, these are all chase contenders. They realize they got to get as much as they can get here, even though it's just race 3 of 10. And Montoya will take the spot back. That is 4th position.
There goes Hamlin with that move on the apron.
Hamlin trying to get down below, and right behind these guys, you can sneak a peek at the 2 guys who are 1-2 in the point standings. Jimmy Johnson and the 5 car of Mark Martin. You see Martin now trying to move in on Johnson for position.
Yeah, and up front, Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle ran identical times, but Jeff Gordon was about 2/10 quicker that last lap, so he's gaining on him.
Martin able to take that spot away. And now Jimmy Johnson has lost some positions, and you see there 6-point separation there. He's dropping back since the restart, six positions back for Johnson.
Well, 2 things that 48 car likes today, and that's clean air and 4 tires. And right now, he doesn't have either one.
And he's also losing points back to Martin Martin. Right now, it's a 14-point differential between Martin and Johnson. in the Chase standings. Top of your screen will show you the Chase standings as of right now. You see the differential. Martin the leader and Johnson in second with Montoya third. More on the 48 car. Vince.
The balance on this race car had been really good throughout most of the day today, but about halfway through this race, Jimmie Johnson got a set of tires that didn't agree with the balance of the car, and since then it's been downhill. He reported that the car was bottoming out. He wasn't sure what was happening. It was too edgy getting started, and that's before they came in and took the 2 tires. So it's starting to go away a bit from the 48. They're going to need something big to happen if they're to make their way back up to the front.
Back up front, it is the 14 car of Tony Stewart, who is the leader. Greg Biffle in second spot. And DJ, as you mentioned a moment ago, that 24 car is digging in a hurry. There comes the 24, Jeff Gordon, on the bottom of the racetrack, and he has been the fastest car on the track the last 3 laps.
Yeah, he's been about at least a tenth of a second faster than Tony Stewart. He's pulling in on Greg Biffle's bumper here. Yeah, the best thing for Stewart is we know how hard Greg Biffle has been to pass when you get to him. You're going to see Jeff Gordon's going to catch him. But can he get by Greg Biffle to be able to get to Tony Stewart? Yeah. They were both, the last couple laps have been just a little bit quicker than Tony Stewart. Once again, Gordon, that last lap was about 0.12 quicker. So he is coming. And at that rate, it would be just enough time. But making a pass and catching them is 2 different things.
Take a look at the speeds as they flash by the line. You see Tony Stewart. Let's see who is actually quickest that time. Montoya starting to move in.
Yeah, right now Montoya would be sitting in the catbird seat as the caution comes out because he would line up second row outside. It seems like that outside lane's been pretty good on this restart.
Let's update Jeff Gordon. Shannon.
Yeah, remember, Jeff Gordon on 4 tires for that 24, and they only took half a tank of fuel. But, guys, they have a reason to applaud right now. This car was a handful at the start of the race, and they have slowly worked on it, and slowly it has become a good car for Jeff Gordon. And right now, all he needs is time on the racetrack to reel these guys in.
Yeah, I remember early in the race, he told Steve Letarte, "You'll be my hero if you can fix this thing." So he's done a good job with it today. Look at him. He's pumping him up.
Yeah, he knows his driver has yet to lead a lap today, but he's got one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. In fact, Jeff Gordon has not led a lap in the chase thus far this year.
Just as Andy said, though, here's going to be the problem. Can he get by Greg Biffle without losing too much time?
And he pulls to the inside and slides right by Biffle. Now 13 laps to go. It sets his sights on Tony Stewart. Or did he get by Biffle?
Not yet. If he can clear him off a turn 2, he's going to be in good shape. He's got him right here. He needs to just slide up. That's a great job. Got a fast race car here. We're going to have a race at the end.
That's one hungry driver in that 24 too.
0 and 5 car. Rudiman and Martin. That is 7th and 8th position.
Jeff Gordon has enough time to catch Tony Stewart.
This is about the best we've seen Mark Martin too since back early in the race. He's got David Rudiman and Casey Kane right there in front of him trying to make up a couple of spots. If he finished like this, he would still have the points lead over Jimmie Johnson.
Tony Stewart now can clearly see that 24 car coming in his mirror. And as you said, Andy, Tony has run the quickest laps he has run all day long.
Yeah, Tony's pretty good at getting up on the wheel when he needs to also.
See, Gordon is the fastest of the top 2. Montoya third.
Yeah, he'll have to beat him by a little bit more than that, though, if he's going to catch him here in these next 11 laps.
Jeff Gordon is very good on 1.5-mile racetracks. Remember, he snapped that 47-race winless streak at Texas, a 1.5-mile track early in the year. Can he get win number 2 here in the final 11 laps? Let's talk to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jamie.
Well, Dale Jr. starts in the front row, led 41 laps, and then we see the belt falls off, you lose power. Jr., how do you describe today?
Just frustrating. You know, we had a fast car, and we left the lug nut off on that one pit stop and lost a lap there, and then we pitted, and caution come out, lost another lap there, so we were just 2 laps down the whole day. We had a fast enough car to finish in the top 12, I think. Right there at the end of the run there, we was as good as a leader, but they had us by quite a bit the first 30 laps of the run, but we just needed track position. We had a top 10 car maybe.
These Hendrick guys are out here scratching their heads, guys. They still don't know what led to the power outage.
Sat on the front row, his best qualifying effort in over a year, and led laps, and just couldn't quite pull it off. Had that problem on pit road, and now you saw the frustration in Dale Earnhardt Jr. as he walked away. Side-by-side action on the racetrack, the 5-car of Martin, and a great run for David Rudiman in 7th position.
Yeah, Rudiman's been really good here the entire weekend. Watched him in the practice sessions. He was strong, and trying to finish this race today really strong, too. He's in that 7th spot right now, trying to hold Mark Martin off.
I think Jimmy Johnson, he's trying to get out. Mark, if you can get by him and I can get down on the bottom side, I can get that position as well. Inside of 10 laps to go here at Kansas Speedway, Tony Stewart trying to get his 4th victory in 2009, but Jeff Gordon now really closing 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, knocked a big chunk off that last lap, about a 1/4 of a second. See Stewart having to deal with just a little lap traffic.
Yeah, but John Andretti gave him the bottom side right there, and so that was a big help to Tony.
Yeah, and he gave it to Gordon also, just letting the leaders race it out.
Jeff Gordon is a believer in luck, and this weekend his sponsor DuPont put the 4H4 Clover, the 4-leaf clover, on this race car. They're a big supporter of the 4-H clubs for the 6 million youngsters around the country, and they told Jeff early in the week, our 4-leaf clover on the back of your car is going to push you to victory lane.
Well, it's something that Rick Hendricks has been involved in for a long time when he was back in school, something my dad was involved in also, so something that means a lot to the Hendrick organization, and Jeff may run this thing the rest of the time if he's able to pass Tony Stewart.
I tell you what, I like that half-tank fuel move the 24 car Jeff Gordon did. I tell you what, it makes that car not be near as loose at the start of the race. And guys, it's about 55 pounds lighter right now, too, than a fuel tank. So that's got to help that car for speed.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rusty. That really makes your car feel better. And like I said, you don't have to fight it being loose for those first few laps. That Jeff's not only beating him by a couple of hundreds here these last few laps, that's not going to be quite enough.
He's running out of time now. 5 laps to go.
Buddy, you're going to get him. Just stick at it.
That's Steve Letarte. He's cheering his driver on.
Yeah, he beat him by about 1/10 and a half that lap.
There's the 2 crew chiefs, man. I'm going to tell you, this is tense.
A 4-time champion chasing a 2-time champion. It doesn't get much better than that here in NASCAR. Race number 3 in the chase for the Sprint Cup, and it all comes down to individual points as we wind our way toward Homestead Miami Speedway for the season finale. This win could be critical for Jeff Gordon. We told you when the day began that Gordon and his team had this race and this date circled. He knew he was very, very good at Kansas Speedway, but now he's running out of laps.
Oh, that's a little smoke out of the 24 that lap. If he's rubbing the splitter, driving in the corner hard, trying to make up time.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, that he's just trying to give it a little bit of extra because he knows he's running out of time. This will be a huge win for Tony Stewart, too. Solidly back in this chase. He never thought he was out of it, but it certainly is going to get him within about 70 points or a little less.
Yeah, with Mark Martin 7th, then the 48 car.
3 more. There's no pressure from the 16. If you got to search.
48 car still in 9th spot.
Pretty good battle here. The 18 of Kyle Busch. Kurt Busch at 2, so a little brotherly shove there back and forth trying to get that position. There's Carl Edwards in front of him as they are 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Yeah, Carl Edwards made a nice comeback today as he's in the 10th spot after being a lap down at one time.
Hey, it's looking good for Tony Stewart now. 2 laps to go.
Casey Kane in the 5 car of Mark Martin battling for 6th position. Right now, Mark Martin has an 18-point advantage over Jimmy Johnson, but it'll be white flag this time by for Tony Stewart. Tony began the chase in disappointing fashion. Although he led 52 laps at New Hampshire, they had an issue. He ended up finishing out of the top 10. Stewart finally gets the top 10 last week at Dover, Delaware, but has not had a top 5 since his win at Watkins Glen. Now Tony is 1 lap away from getting his 4th win of the year. That's the margin, 0.6 of a second. Tony Stewart trying to hold off Jeff Gordon. 2 turns away for Tony Stewart, the 38-year-old 2-time champion, coming out of turn 4, and Tony Stewart will win it at Kansas Speedway. Side-by-side battle here, Kane and Martin, and it'll be Casey King at the stripe. And Jimmy Johnson ends up finishing behind the 0-0. That's in ninth spot for Johnson. Unofficially.
You are the man, Smoke. Thank you so much.
Tony Stewart the winner, Jeff Gordon in second, Biffle will finish third, Montoya fourth, Denny Hamlin fifth.
2 tires paid off.
Yeah,
Tony
sure
Stewart.
did. Yeah, we had 10 of our 12 chase drivers to finish in the top 11 positions. Shows why they're in the chase.
And we just set a record for the most chasers in the top 10. 9 chasers finishing in the top 10 today. The only one not a chaser, David Rudiman, coming home in 8th spot. Great crowd on hand. They were treated to one heck of a race here.
Late model race tonight after all the media stuff's over.
It was. It's a packed house here today, and they saw a great race and excellent race driver. Used the whole day to get himself out front, but when he did, he didn't give it up.
Becomes only the second driver to win more than once here at Kansas. Listen to this crowd.
Nice job, everybody. Thanks, man.
Drove by the flag. Back up there and get that checker flag.
Couldn't have asked for a prettier day here. Beautiful autumn afternoon here in Kansas City, Kansas. And as you said, DJ, a great crowd of Midwestern NASCAR stock car fans on hand to enjoy this one. Let's go down to Jamie Little.
And Darian Grubb up here, he was looking up at the points, looking at everybody where they finished behind you guys. That last pit stop, the last minute call to take 2, when did you make up your mind that was the call?
We kind of started looking at it when we did 2 earlier in the race. Tony was able to get out there in clean air and just be able to take off. The other 2 guys that took 2 ended up 7th and 9th, so Tony was able to get that clean air and just take off and set sail. So did an awesome job today. The entire pit crew, everybody did a great job all night long.
This sport's all about momentum. What does this do for this 14 team moving forward?
It helps pick us back up. We've had a few bad weeks. We haven't had the performance we wanted and the finishes we wanted in those first 2 races. Now we're able to go out here and have a good, solid day all the way around and win, and made up a bunch of ground on the points.
Congratulations. They move up 1 spot to 4th in the points, Shannon.
Second place finish for Jeff Gordon, who's talking to, I guess, your hero, Jeff. You said that if he could get this car right today, he would be your hero. How hard did you guys work for this second place finish?
He's almost there to hero. He didn't fix it completely, but still a great day for the DuPont Chevrolet. We came a long ways. That shows what kind of great team we have. You know, we were really far off at the beginning of this race. The funny thing is, all weekend long, you know, when the balance wasn't right, the speed was still decent. So, got to give the engine shop, the chassis shop, all the guys back in the 24, 48, 5, and 88 shop. Great effort for us. Really proud of Steve and all the guys today in the pits. So that's the kind of effort that we got to show, you know, if we're going to win this championship.
Let's look at big picture for a second. How much momentum will this give you, not only next week, but going into the rest of the chase?
It's going to give us quite a bit. I mean, this is the kind of finish that we needed to have on a 1.5 mile in here at Kansas. And, you know, I feel like we just got to capitalize on the tracks that are good for us. You know, it's one of those days where the pit crew had to step up the right time. They did. Steve made some great calls, and we made some great adjustments because we came from a long way back. We just got to put that effort out every weekend and hope we get those kind of results, maybe even one better.
What a great run for the 24 team here today, Vince.
Jimmy Johnson, the defending champion of this event, finishes 9th today. And Jimmy, it seemed as though the big question was 2 or 4, who would make the right decision at the right time. How did you guys at that key moment decide to go with the 4 instead of the 2?
You know, we had such a good car. We felt like 4 was really the way to go. And you know, we certainly lost some track position and we're in 30 air, but I don't know, something happened. I mean, we were so fast to run before, and I'd come through traffic a couple other times, and then the car was really tough to drive and edgy and all over the place. So I'm not sure what happened. We'll have to get home and look at the car and see if something went on there. Or maybe it could have just been the track position, and so many guys took 2 and we took 4. Then there at the end, we were just trying to get some track position back, and I just didn't have the speed that I did at the start of the race and kind of lost a couple more spots. But at the end of the day, to finish 9th isn't too bad. You know, we hate to see guys that were racing in the points ahead of us, but you know, there's still 7 to go, and you know, the worst place finish we have right now is the 9th. That's not too bad.
Jimmy Johnson remains 2nd in points at this point, Doc.
So 5 drivers will move up in the point standings today. Tony Stewart will gain a spot. Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, and Casey Kane will move up. The guys moving back 2 positions, the 39 of Ryan Newman and the 83 who had a DNF today, Brian Vickers. Tony Stewart in victory lane celebrating his 2nd win at Kansas Speedway. Let's go down today.
And his 4th of the season, Doc, comes at a very, very critical time. Congratulations from his teammate. Mr. H has already been in here congratulating him as well. Tony, what does this mean for you guys? It kind of looks like you're back.
First thing it means I'm going to be late to Knoxville, Iowa tonight to run a dirt late model, but man, I got to thank the fans. That's the best feeling in the world. You win a race and you go back there and can see them like that and to see how supportive they are, and especially the sport in general. But this one's for Sharon Hutchins at home. She's battling cancer, and Trey at home, buddy. We got you one, bud, finally. So just thinking about them first and foremost. But so proud of these guys at SHR and Office Depot and Old Spice and U.S. Army and Burger King, Coca-Cola, Chevrolet. To win the manufacturer's title for Chevy in this race is awesome too. So just an awesome day.
Crew chief made a fairly gutsy call there at the end. 2 tires?
He's like that. He's a little gutsy, so that's a good thing. I mean, Darian just, when you don't question him. I mean, when he makes a call, you know it's the right thing to do, and you go from there.
How much did you see Jeff in the mirror there at the end?
He was getting bigger. But, the big thing was just not driving the tires off the thing. So, you had to keep the tires underneath you in case you got a caution and a green-white checkered. So we had a little bit there left, but we didn't leave too much out there.
Tony, you told everybody this weekend that when you came into the garage area and saw your guys joking and laughing around and having a good time, you knew it was going to be a good weekend. How do they do that and still stay focused?
They're just an awesome group of guys. I mean, I've been fortunate my whole career to be surrounded by good people, but this is a group that came from a bunch of different directions, and we're all here in one place in victory lane together, so I'm proud of them.
Here are the numbers. You picked up 1 position. You picked up 39 points. You're only 57 out. Talk about your chase chances now.
That's about half of where we were, so we still got a shot. We got a great shot at this still.
All right, Tony Stewart in victory lane. A good win for them today at a critical time in the chase.
Record day here for Tony Stewart, and he mentioned Chevy picking up their 33rd Manufacturers Championship. We set a record for leaders, 14 different leaders, 26 lead changes, and 9 chasers finishing in the top 10. What a day for Smoke. Tony Stewart here getting his 2nd win at Kansas Speedway. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Time to take the pictures and do the interviews in victory lane for Tony Stewart, winner today of chase race number 3. Little congratulations from Jeff Gordon. Gordon himself with a strong runner-up finish today. I'm sure they were chatting about how Gordon was getting bigger in the rearview mirror, as Tony Stewart said when we talked with him a minute ago. Top 5 finish for Denny Hamlin today, Shannon.
Denny Hamlin, a great run, 5th place finish for the 11 team, especially coming off of last weekend's run. How was your day today, Denny?
It was a pretty good day. We made our car a little bit better every stop, and I told Mike to adjust it out that last stop. I felt like we would be too free on the short run, but we tightened it up like I asked for, and it was just a little bit too much. And then I think just being on that top line was going to be a big benefit, and just us getting bottled up right there with the 48 and whatnot just kept us from really going when the first 3 laps were our strength all day long.
We have a handful of intermediate tracks in this chase. What did you guys learn this weekend that you might be able to use on some of those tracks?
Well, there's some things that we worked with our setup today that we typically had worked our way out of, before we got in the chase, and we found out that this is the best that we've ever run at this racetrack. So it's definitely we've learned some things that can help us, and I think when we unload it the next mile and a half, we're going to be even closer.
All right, top 5 finish for the 11 team. Vince?
With Casey Kane, a 6th place finish today. Another good solid run for you guys. Boy, you got that bad break the first week of the chase, but you've been pretty good since. What were you missing today to keep you from maybe a top 5 or better?
Well, I think 4 tires probably would have helped for that top 5, but it is hard to say. If some of the guys put on 2, then we would have been sitting better, and we kind of gambled there, and it didn't really pay off. But we still ran 6th, and probably 100 to go. We were the fastest car on the track, Budweiser Dodge was. So, we made a good gain. The team did a great job again, and we just keep working on it. We'll get some of these spots back.
I know you say you just got to keep digging. You've moved up one position from 12th to 11th. How do you view where you stand in the chase and the job that you've got ahead of you here in these final 7 weeks?
Well, we have our work cut out for sure if we want to win a championship or finish in the top 5. But, you know, I feel like we've done a pretty good job this year. We have a lot of things we still want to do. We want to win. We have some great tracks coming up for us, and this team's capable of winning. So hopefully we can just keep working hard, get a top 10 in the points, hopefully better than that, who knows, and go from there. But the team's done a nice job all year, and really that's all we've had, all we got.
Just a moment ago, the King, Richard Petty, came up and put his arm around you. What was the message that he gave?
He said we gained 1 spot in the points, which was good. And he just said, man, he just takes us a little longer to get going, you know, especially the starts, second, third, fourth gear. We just get eaten up, and if a car gets position on me on those restarts, you know, then you lose a spot, another car gets a position, and they can just get by us. Once the tires start wearing out, our Budweiser car is as good as anything out there, I think, or close to it. So once we get equaled out, you know, then we seem to catch the last 40 laps of a run. We're pretty decent.
A lot swirling around this team, but boy, it keeps digging. Another good day on the racetrack for the 9 team.
All right, Vince, thank you. I know we've had the points on the ticker across the top of the screen, but let's take a minute and focus in on the championship standings after race 3 in the chase for the Sprint Cup. You see Mark Martin opening up 8 points on Jimmie Johnson. The lead was 10 coming in. It's 18 now. And Montoya gaining a little ground.
Yeah, Juan did a good job today. And the thing that really I like to see, and I'm so glad that Tony Stewart has gotten himself back into this fray. I had a little apprehension coming in today that Jimmie Johnson would win this race and just destroy and demoralize the field. But with Tony Stewart winning, it gives a little bit of fresh air into this thing. And now we go on next week, we could have a battle on our hands.
Boy, you hit the nail on the head. You take a look at Mark Martin, Johnson, Montoya, and Stewart. These guys are all within 67 points now. Yeah. It's really made a race out of this thing. Because with me, it looked like it was a runaway with Johnson and Mark Martin looking really good. But they struggled a little bit today, finishing 7th and 9th. And boys, we've got a race back in our hands again here now.
Little ray of hope for the competition.
Absolutely.
There. A couple guys, we talked about the dominance of the Chasers in the final finishing order today, with 10 of them finishing in the top 11 spots in the race. 2 had troubles. Brian Vickers with an engine failure. He went to the garage with a 37th place finish. And Ryan Newman, Jamie, finished 22nd today.
And he was 2 laps down at one point, but you got one of those laps back. Ryan, you guys kind of went through a little bit of everything. Kind of sum up your day.
Well, pit road was our worst enemy, it seemed. You know, we got on pit road and then got 2 laps down the first time. We weren't even a lap down. I ended up 2 laps down, so that really hurt. And we got back 1 lap down after being 2 laps down again, and you know, just struggled really. And the balance was decent. I mean, we were the 15th place car at times, and times we were a top 5 car, I thought. But I mean, we passed the leader to get our lap back. But just a struggling day with the U.S. Army Chevrolet, and had a 17-second stop on pit road there on the green flag, and that really killed us.
When you have times like that happen, Ryan, you guys have a time during the week that you go back, you regroup, you talk to the guys?
Well, unfortunately, it's not the first time we've had pit stop problems, but yeah, we will go back and regroup and talk about it. And you know, we're by all means not out of this situation, not out of this chase, but today was a rough day for us.
Your boss and teammate Tony Stewart went to victory lane, and now you guys are jumping on a plane and going to race dirt cars. Is that right?
Yeah, I went over to ask him if he was still coming. He said he'd be a little late, but went over to Knoxville to run late models tonight, and you know, just congratulations to them guys. They did a great job. They had less practice time. They had an engine problem in practice, and then got things fixed for a second practice, and then proved that they are a championship caliber team. So congratulations to them.
All right, that's Ryan Newman. He ends a streak of 5 consecutive top 10 finishes.
Okay, Jamie, thanks. And we turn our attention now to that number 16 car. You see 3rd on the scoring pylon in the final results. Greg Biffle started 31st. His team used a 2-tire stop to gain him track position at lap 71. He was out in front when they came to pit road at lap 238. And they went for 4. Some others got 2, and Biffle wound up 3rd. Shannon.
Well, Greg Biffle driving a car that was made specifically for this track here. You guys dominated all day. Talk about your run.
Well, I tell you, it was a great run for the Sherwin-Williams paint car. Excited to have 3M on it as well. But, you know, I felt like, you know, Irwin wanted to do 2 at the end, and I really felt 4 tires was the right call. And it was just too loose on 4 tires. And you know, we had a great race with some of those guys out there today. Feel good about getting back up front and running hard, but just feel so bad I didn't get that win, you know, thorn in the side. But just too loose to put the gas down at the end, and got beat.
You guys made 2 tires work early in the race. Did the track change a little bit towards the end? That's why you thought you had to go with 4?
Well, yeah, the track had been freeing up, and we had a pretty long run. The stop before we had only done right, so that would have been 2 stints with just rights only. Probably would have been okay, but you know, we had such a lead and the car was so good. I said, let's just do 4. I think I can beat him. And coming from 4th, I mean, that's only 2nd row. I should have been able to get there. I was running him down, but then the tires just went off. It just too loose.
All right, thanks, Greg. Great finish for Greg Biffle on the 16.
Shannon, Mark Martin finished 7th today. This morning, Alan told me that yesterday you had enough speed, but the balance was always an issue with this car. Was that the problem today, Mark?
We were off a little on speed, too. You know, it's really great when a race team can fight and scratch and battle and come up with a 7th place finish when you miss it a little bit. And we did. We tried to throw some magic at it today. But it was you know, it was still just a little bit off of some of the guys. But it was a great fought battle, and I'm really proud of the guys, and it was a good result.
Can you put it in perspective? Out of the top 5 finishing order, but you retained the points lead and even upped it by 8 points.
Well, I mean, we finished as high as we could. You know, we raced our guts out, and that's what you got to do in all of them and see how they tally up.
Alan, Mark Martin still on his way to the championship. He still leads.
And again, up 18 points on Jimmy Johnson as we head on to the final 7 races in the chase for the Sprint Cup. There are where those races will be held next weekend. It's out to Southern California, then back to the East Coast to Charlotte, Martinsville, Talladega, Texas Phoenix, and the finale at Homestead, Miami. Tickets available for all of those upcoming races. Check out NASCAR.com/tickets if you'd like to join us at the track. Number 1 is where Tony Stewart finished today here in Kansas. We're coming back. Fans filing out of the Kansas Speedway after race number 3 in the chase for the Sprint Cup, won by Tony Stewart. Juan Pablo Montoya is now the only driver with top 5 finishes in all 3 chase races. 3rd in Atlanta, 3rd in New Hampshire, 4th in Dover, and Jamie Little 4th here in Kansas City today.
Juan Pablo Montoya brings it home 4th. It was an eventful day for the 42 team. Tell me about the couple of run-ins you had, Juan, and what goes through your mind at that point?
Oh, nothing. You just gotta, you know, we're going at it. Whatever it takes. Keselowski's, it's okay. I got inside of him, and I don't think they told him I was there, and he just turned into me a little bit, and it's okay. It's one of those deals. But we were in this Target Chevy, has done an amazing job, and everybody, you know, 5 Shop keeps building great cars, and engineering keeps, you know, making, you know, when they give you good cars, you look good.
The picture's starting to be formed. 3 races into the chase now, 7 remain. How do you feel like you guys are stacking up to those guys ahead of you?
Some weeks good, some weeks not so good, I guess, you know. This week, I'll tell you, we thought we were going to lose a lot of points against the 48 this week, and to beat them and be ahead of them, it was big.
How about your relationship with Brian Patty? You guys having some comic relief after a little spat. What's it like to have a relationship like that?
I think it's just used to it now, by now. Frustrating, you know, yes, we're running top 10, 8, but the 48 and 5 just passed me, and it gets really frustrating because for some reason the car just not handling. We were lucky to get a caution, and yeah, the front tires are just building out of control on that side. So, you know, we had a luck in our side and good restarts, and that's all you can ask for.
Pablo Montoya very much still in the hunt. He's 3rd in points.
And Jamie, he gained 14 on championship leader Mark Martin today. Well, an adventurous day for Carl Edwards. Carl got caught speeding on pit road on a green flag pit stop, the first pit stops of the race. That was back at lap 60. Was a lap down for a long time. Finally got back on the lead lap with a free pass at lap 147 at a caution. And he came back to finish 10th, Vince.
Carl Edwards with a top 10 today, in fact 10th, and he also picks up a position in the chase from 11th to 10th. How would you assess the day you had here today at Kansas?
It was going great till some idiot sped on pit road. That was me. So, still, you know, we rallied back. My pit crew did a great job. Greg ran really well with the Sherwin-Williams car up front. Our Aflac Fusion was so good on long runs, but on the short run, I couldn't do anything with him. So I thought there at the end, Bob made enough adjustment to get it to go on the short run, but man, just couldn't do it. Had a great race with the Bushes, though. That was a lot of fun at the end. I just wish we were racing for that win.
How do you assess where you stand now, 10th in points?
Well, I'm looking at it there. It looks like 165 points, you know, behind where I'd like to be. But, you know, Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, Montoya, Stewart, all those guys up front, they've been running better than us. So we've got races left. You know, we had a ray of hope there. You know, the last 2 weeks, Matt's run really well, Greg's run really well, and we go to California, and we can build from this race at Kansas to California for our Aflac team.
Nice run today for Carl Edwards, finishing 10th.
Okay, Vince, thanks. We've talked to a lot of the chase drivers that finished and dominated the front of the finishing order. A couple of non-chasers mixed in there as well, including young Brad Keselowski. Started this race on the inside of row number 2. Got caught by a caution flag in a sequence of pit stops that trapped him a lap down, but they came back to finish in 13th spot, Shannon.
A great run for Brad Keselowski and the number 25 team. If you guys had not come down to pit early and you would have been able to stay out and stay on sequence, do you think that you guys could have possibly contended for a win today?
Yeah, I do feel we had an awesome go day at Com Chevrolet, and man, it was so great. This was a perfect weekend. It really was. I had 2 great cars with the Nationwide car and the Cup car, and just didn't quite catch the break we needed to have a shot at winning with the Cup car today. But you know, all in all, a great weekend. We made a lot of progress, and I learned a lot. I feel really good about this, and feel like if I can get to running full time, that I can go up there and compete with those guys. So just overall, a great day and a lot of progress, and that's what we're looking for.
Now, your team did report at one point that NASCAR came over and asked you to maybe not drive as aggressively around some of the chase guys going for championships. Can you tell me exactly what happened there?
Well, you know, actually, they were racing me hard, and you know, when they started racing me hard, it kind of forced my hand and made me race them hard. So, you know, it's cool with me. We never made contact with any of them. And we ran each other just hard and didn't wreck each other, and that's just good racing.
Great finish for the 25 car, 13th place finish for Brad Keselowski.
All right, Shannon, thanks. So Tony Stewart still, he's going to go after the crew now. They showered him when he got out of the car. Is that Darian Grubb hiding under that hat? Crew chief? I'll bet it is. He's going to need a little cleanup before he gets on the airplane.
He's going to need more than a little cleanup.
That's not Darian either, I don't think. No, it's not. All right, well, somebody's getting a shower and going to need a shower before they ride home on an airplane, because he would not be very pleasant to sit next to, huh? Time to head for technical inspection for the race-winning car, that 14 Chevrolet for Tony Stewart's Stewart-Haas Racing team. They've got a little bit of work to do to take that apart and show NASCAR everything's up to snuff. Call by Tony Stewart's crew chief on strategy, got them track position, and a call on strategy may have cost Greg Biffle the position to win the race. Let's get some thoughts on that from upstairs with Doc, TJ, and Andy.
Guys, I know hindsight's always 20/20, and you do the woulda, shoulda, coulda deal, but you heard Greg Biffle, you heard what he said about how loose his car was, but then again, he had been so good on 2 tires.
He had been, and he felt like he needed 4 tires. They had run more laps on that set of lefts than they had any time during the day, so you know, Greg made a good decision for what he thought. The crew chief still wanted those 2 tires, and, you know, it turns out that probably would have been the best call, but that's all hindsight. You just take all the information you have, and you try to make the best decision you can, and we win and lose as a team.
Yeah, and this is one time I'm really going to be on the crew chief side, because I know it's a difficult decision. You're looking at the entire race unfold in front of you all day long, and all you have is that information from there. Even though you saw your car be so good on 2 tires all day long, you know you've run further on those left side tires than you have the entire day. You don't want that to really jump up and bite you, but they did a great job. As a driver, all you can do is tell them what you think. You don't know how everybody else, how the race is unfolded for them, but sometimes you win it, sometimes you don't.
Well, Darian Grubb made some good calls for Tony Stewart today. Let's visit with him. Dave?
And as we sit here with Darian still in victory lane, the guys are kind of wondering if you'd much rather be here than be over in Tech, where they're going to, you know, tear it down and ruin that beautiful race car.
We got a lot of work to do tonight. We still got to actually turn the cars around for the California trip. So we got a lot of work to do, so we're going to sit here and relax and enjoy this for a little bit.
Yeah, let me go right there first before we go back to today's race. What is the turnaround to get everybody to California back and forth, or did you swap cars here and put another one in the hauler?
We're swapping cars here, put another one in the hauler, but we got to change the gears in the backup and get that one prepared as well. So got a lot of equipment and a lot of work to do still tonight.
Okay, 2-tire stop at the end. Did you know that that was the right call for your driver only because of track position, or did he need that for handling as well?
We think we needed it for track position. He was a little bit too loose there. We knew the 2 tires were going to tighten us up a little bit, just what they did the 2 stops before that. So track position was going to be key, and he got a great restart and was able to just pull out there and pull away. The other 2 guys that took 2 ended up 7th and 9th, so that tells you what the track position meant right there on that restart.
And let me check. You were running second when you made that call, is that right, when you came down pit road? Okay, so is that the only time that call works, or that you know you can maybe be the first guy off pit road with a good stop?
No, not necessarily. I mean, the pit crew just did a great job, and they got us out there first of the guys that did take 2 tires. So it's all just a key of the way the scenarios play out, how many laps you have, and how good the car is. And Tony was just doing a great job. The car needed 2 tires at that point. It was a little bit too free, so it ended up working out for us.
And what did you think when you realized that the 16 had taken 4 and given up the spot?
We knew it was going to be tough. We heard them calling over the radio. They were planning to do 2, and they called 4 at the last second. So I think he slid his tires coming in the box. Something had to change the scenario, and Tony did a great job just easing it in. The guys did a great pit stop, and were able to get out there first.
You and I talked this morning about what the chase was like for you now, and you felt like if you could have a win or two, and if some other guys could have trouble, you'd be right back up there. Well, the first thing has happened. How are you feeling about the chase now?
We've always felt good. We felt like we're a very strong team. We should be chase contenders, and we want to go out there and keep winning races. You're going to have to do that to win this championship.
He is a guy who was, as you guys know, a long time with Hendrick Motorsports. They train him well, and doggone it, he's pretty good at Stewart Hot Racing now, too. Darian Grubb.
He indeed is, Dave. His 7th win for Darian Grubb, and Tony Stewart now picking up his 4th win in 2009. Now let's talk about the fact, a great call by the crew chief, but also Tony Stewart opting to take that outside line on that final restart.
Yeah, key move as it turns out, because the only time the entire day that the leader chose that outside lane. But Tony knew what his car was capable of, where he wanted to be, and that's what the driver has to figure out throughout the day is, if I get in that position, what am I going to do? Tony Stewart certainly made the right choice.
Yeah, and we saw other guys make decisions too. You know, the 42 car, they took 4 tires. They got a top 5 finish, finishing 4th. They keep themselves in this chase. I mean, they're still sitting right there in 3rd spot in the points. I mean, they've done a great job so far.
So Tony Stewart wins at Watkins Glen, and everyone gets worried because the next 5 races in a row, he disappears from the top 10 and says, oh, is Tony going to be a factor in the chase? Well, guess what? Smoke is back. 4 wins this year, 20 top 10 finishes, and you see he moved up a spot in the points, got 2 cars in the chase in his first year as an owner. And folks, the chase is heating up because the sentimental favorite Mark Martin pulling away, and Montoya, the dark horse, still a factor. Back in a moment.
Quick note on the motorsports calendar, programming upcoming on the ESPN networks. The O'Reilly NHRA Mid-South Nationals in Memphis. Finals rained out today. They'll be run on Monday. You can see them Monday night, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. NASCAR now with the complete post-race wrap-up from here in Kansas tonight at 10 Eastern ESPN2. And our Monday Roundtable presented by the Home Depot, 6 Eastern tomorrow. We'll break it all down in depth. NASCAR Nationwide Series in Southern California next weekend. We're on the air on ESPN2 at 4 Eastern on Saturday. And the next race in the chase is the Pepsi 500 in California. ABC's coverage starts at 2:30 Eastern Time next Sunday afternoon. So as Tony Stewart continues to get the pictures taken, and then he's still got to go into the media center and do his extended press conference and some more before he can get on that plane and go to that dirt race up in Iowa that he wants to go to tonight. He's saying, which one next? Which hat am I supposed to be wearing? Which camera am I supposed to be facing? Some of the spoils of victory for Tony Stewart. Let's talk about what this win does for Stewart and this race team and the general picture overall. Hendrick affiliated cars have now won all 3 chase races. Stewart gets his chassis and engines and engineering support from Hendrick Motorsports. Even though Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson maybe weren't as strong today as they've been, here's another one of them in victory lane.
I will tell you, I thought that Stewart was out of it for a while, guys. He had so many bad problems, you know, 4 or 5 weeks in a row, guys, with, you know, radio problems, axle caps, stuff like that going wrong. But today, they got it all together. And you're right, that Hendrick Motorsports camp, and Tony Stewart's part of it, with that engine and that chassis and that body that they get from those guys, it's really working out good for Hendrick. It's been this way year after year. That camp, Hendrick, and now with Stewart, they got it going on.
Yeah, you know, and since the renaissance of this team, you know, the genesis of this team, Tony Stewart and Haas Racing, he said once they got into the chase that their team did take a collective sigh and kind of had a little bit of a letdown. And then they started having these minuscule problems that were creating issues for him. He shows what type of race car driver he is today and what type of team he has and what type of threat he is to win this championship.
Remember back when we came on the air just after 1 Eastern Time, one of the things we did in NASCAR Countdown was go to the hometown of Clint Bowyer, Emporia, Kansas, 100 miles from here. Bowyer started today 8th, had high hopes for the day, wound up finishing 21st, Jamie.
And the local boy, Clint Bowyer, finishes 21st today. Eventful day from the beginning. Clint, what happened when you guys got the damage?
Yeah, just, you know, they all checked up. Biffle was slow to restart. And you understand why he's doing that. You know, he's racing that group of 3 or 4 cars right around him. But, man, it really cost everybody deep in the field. With, you know, my fault. Shouldn't have been back there. But, you know, it's just a chain reaction. And I got hit from behind and ran into it. And I hit Ambrose, and I knew from his car that he had damage. I knew I was bound to have damage. It just tore it up, and once we got it fixed, it was, you know, it was fine again, and the car went back, it took off and went fast, but just wasn't our day.
really want to say thank you to Sprint for putting on that state line, challenge between Carl and I. Carl's a good guy, and we always like racing each other hard, and that was important to both of us to be able to do that for Victory Junction Game Camp. And just like I said, I want to say thanks to Sprint.
$100,000 to the winner of that. That's a big deal. Talked to your crew chief this morning, Shane Wilson. He had high hopes for this car, and he said just to be in your hometown ups you guys a little bit. It's good for a couple of tenths anyway. What's it like coming into this track and with everybody here to support you?
Well, it's definitely, it's worth horsepower. It's definitely worth a couple tenths, but it was just, it wasn't our day. Nothing went our way, and like I said, when we got that damage, it just took too long to get it fixed back up. But, proud of the guys. They brought me a good car. It was fast all weekend. It's just, it's frustrating. It really is.
You've had some great runs going into California now. How are you looking at things there, since I'm sure you moved on from Kansas already?
Yeah. No, I got to get over Kansas first if I can think about, California. But this weekend's over. Still got a lot of family here that I need to see, and looking forward to seeing tonight and tomorrow. So I'm going to enjoy that and then worry about California next week.
And next week, hopefully, you'll turn things around. Clint Boyer.
It was a 9th place finish for the 48 team down here with Chad Knaus. I know track position was so important for you guys today. Can you talk about your day, describe what it was like?
Yeah, it's obviously extremely disappointed. We had a great race car. It was really fast, especially out in front. And honestly, I messed up. I made a 4-tire call there when a lot of people took 2, and we got back in traffic, and we just couldn't recover from it at that point. Disappointing for sure, but to come out here with the top 10 finish, that's still good. We're still in the championship chase, or right there by Mark, so that's good. But we definitely had expected to run a lot better, or at least finish a lot better than what we had.
And I know it won't take you long, but focusing towards the next race, how long will it take you to shake this off and start your focus towards Fontana?
12 o'clock tomorrow. 12 o'clock noon tomorrow. That's when the notebooks get closed from the week before, and you move on to the next week. So I'll be kicking myself and beating myself up a little bit on the way home tonight, but once we get back to Charlotte, I'll be over with.
All right, they've won 3 championships, and they know how to get it done. Vince?
Well, Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson are chasing this man, Alan Gustafson, and his driver, Mark Martin, 7th today, but stretched the points lead a little bit. Instead of 10 points, which you had coming in, you're now up by 18. But you said it wasn't the best of days for you today. Why?
Well, we just didn't have that Kellogg's CarQuest Chevy just right. We fell a little bit short of getting the car where it needed to be, and that happens sometimes. But the positive side of it is the fight in this race team. I'm really proud of the fight of the guys and the fight of Mark. The pit stops were great. That #1 pit stall helped out, as it always does. So the work they did on Friday paid off, and it's not much. We lost some to some people, but we gained on others. So all in all, it was a good day, and we took what could have been a lot worse day and made it positive.
You seem, obviously you guys have been good all season long, but you seem as though you've really kind of hit a stride here in the chase, and maybe you guys got things rolling even a little better over the course of these last 3 weeks. Is that accurate? And if so, what's kind of gotten you there?
Well, I think we've been there. I think we would go on a good run, a good run of results, and then we'd have a bad one, and a devastating one. That's what we've worked on taking out. So, before this, I think we had 5 or 6 top 5s in a row, and had a shot at one today. We just couldn't get those guys cleared. The 00 was hard to get cleared, and then couldn't get around Casey Kane there at the end. But real proud of Mark, man. He drove his tail off, and like he did the last couple weeks, he goes out there and gets us some spots. And obviously, with as tight as the points race is, those points are a premium. So the fight's really important. It's not going to be easy. I think everybody knows nobody's going to run away with this one. This is probably as competitive as we've ever seen this sport. So I think having a lot of resolve and a lot of fights is going to be key, and I'm really proud of my guys for that.
Yeah, that makes the accomplishment all the greater. Alan Gustafson, let's go to Dave.
With the crew chief for Juan Pablo Montoya, that is Brian Patty. Brian, after the final pit stop, the lap 206 pit stop under green, we noticed Juan's car getting just a little bit tighter. What happened that caused that?
Well, I think we were tight a little bit before that, and it seemed like him and the 48 were racing pretty hard there one time, and he got in the back of the 48, which we're trying to build these cars as light as we can, and it just seemed to roll the splitter a little bit there, which is a little bit of disadvantage. But we're fortunate enough to get that last caution and make a pretty big swing at it to try to free it back up, and I thought we did a pretty good job at that. So the driver sticking in really helped out.
We played a little bit of the radio when he was getting frustrated. I also followed up by telling everyone that then you guys were laughing a little bit and kind of got yourselves back on track. What I want to know is, do you think that you were able to bring him back around, or did he just have to realize, man, I got to get refocused? Or did he ever lose focus?
No, he didn't lose focus. I mean, it was like 2 laps there. The lap times were off, but other than that, he made it up. We have a few code words that helps relax, and he knows what I'm thinking without saying it. So I had to use a couple of those. But all in all, it's I tell you, it's just fun racing like this. It's racing up front and running with a 5 and the 48. It's I'm really looking forward to the last 7 races.
They did it again today. Ran with the Hendrick cars. They're doing a great job, Jamie.
And Mike Ford, crew chief for Denny Hamlin. You guys brought it home 5th today. The last caution came out. You guys pitted, took 4 tires. You started on the inside, and how much did that affect you guys?
Yeah, our car is really good on the outside on the restarts, and for 3 or 4 laps we were really strong. But after that, everything just stagnate from that point because the air was so critical, and we got bottled up on the bottom behind Jimmy and couldn't clear those cars. And after a couple laps, it kind of shot the effort. But in order to get those tires to work, we needed to do it in the first couple of laps, and it just didn't work out. But real happy. Feel like this is our second worst track in the chase, and we've got number 1 and 2 behind us, and we can still see the leaders. So very happy with the top 5 here.
And that's exactly what you told me this morning about Dover and this track. Those were the 2 that you're worried about. Now that they're behind you, looking ahead to California, where do you think you guys stack up?
I think we can close ground from here. I think going to California, we ran pretty strong there in the spring, and seems like every time we go there, we get a little bit better. So I know our equipment is a lot better than what we had. So very, very, after these 2, very much looking forward to the rest of them. I think as they go, they get better for us. So I think Fontana will run better than what we did here. Then on to Charlotte and Martinsville, where I know we're going to be good. So somewhat can breathe a little easier right now.
All right, this 11 team, definitely a team to watch. 99 points back. They are 6th right now, Vince.
With Steve Letarte, the crew chief on the 24 of Jeff Gordon, 2nd today, and Steve was just kind of lamenting it's been a familiar position for you guys this season, but you take pride in the success anyway, even if it's not the first place that you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, we'd like to win a race, but we just need to run the top 5, run the top 3, gain as many points as we can. Everybody on the DuPont Chevrolet, they fought hard today. We didn't start off very good, but Jeff stuck with us. Pickard did a good job, and I guess I guess you got to smile about 2nd. Maybe tomorrow I will.
What was the key adjustment for you guys? Because there was a time when Jeff needed you to make the car better, and you did.
Well, there's a lot of things we changed, but we just did a lot of multiple adjustments. We finally got some grip in the back of the car. It was real sensitive. We were tight, but the back of the car was really unhooked. So once we got the back secured up, we could work some air pressure, make it turn, and he just did a great job in the restarts. That's what it really comes down to anymore. You got to gain the spots when they're there.
Going to California next, and the 24 was 2nd at California last time around, Alan.
All right, Vince, thank you. Let's take a look at how the day unfolded in chase race number 3 here at the Kansas Speedway. Early, it was trouble in turn 2.
Oh, yeah, right away, Joey Logano loses it off of turn 2. Speculation, he hit some of those rubber tar strips we talked about, spun that baby, and again, Menard loses it in the same spot as Joey Logano did. Turn 2 seemed to be the big action spot.
Yeah, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. got off to a tremendous lead. He led 41 laps after that second restart, after Joey Logano's spin, comes down pit road, leaves a lug nut off on the left rear right there, and that just started the decline of his day. Could not overcome that. Got a couple laps down, then the thing quit working on it. Not sure for what happened with the motor quit giving him horsepower.
Junior wound up finishing 36th. Greg Biffle started way back in 31st spot. On the first pit stop, his team used 2 tires, the first yellow flag pit stop, to get him some track positions. Biffle ran up front for the lead almost all race long. Here passing Jimmy Johnson, Biffle eventually would clinch the bonus points for leading the most laps in this race. But then on the final set of pit stops, it was Tony Stewart's team playing the strategy. They get right side tires and come out with the lead. There's Casey Kane, there's Jimmy Johnson. Here comes Greg Biffle from 1st to 4th, and he never recovered.
No, he never did recover. Tony Stewart learned from Greg Biffle. Biffle led 113 laps today, led the most laps, and Tony Stewart said, hey, I'm going to use that, what you just did with those tires, and that's going to take me to victory lane, and it worked great for him.
So Tony Stewart celebrating the victory here at the Kansas Speedway. Your star of the day, borrow a hockey term. Pick your top star of the day. Who was it?
For me, it's going to be David Rudiman. I mean, he had an outstanding day. Ran well, ran strong, was very competitive. Finished 8th today. Good run for David Rudiman.
For me, it's got to be Tony Stewart. He's had so many problems of late with miscues, radio problems, axle cap, stuff like that. They got it together today. They're in victory lane. Stewart's my star.
So as we wrap it up from Kansas, a reminder that the new season of ABC's Desperate Housewives is just getting started. And Attack on Susan's Daughter will have everyone wondering, how well do we really know our neighbors? Naughty affairs, crazy stalkers, and misbehaving young nieces spice up life on Wisteria Lane. ABC's Desperate Housewives tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central Time. And the race for the Sprint Cup continues next week, where Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Matt Kenseth lead all drivers with 3 wins at Auto Club Speedway in Southern California. Tony Stewart wins in Kansas today. Now we move from the Heartland to Hollywood for chase race number 4.
Next week in the chase.
Race number 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Here come the Hendrick boys.
It's no surprise to see Jimmy Johnson out front.
Relax, focus, take a picture.
How about the Biff? Tony Stewart now can clearly see that 24 car coming in his mirror.
He's gaining on it.
You are the man, Smoke. Thank you so much.
The chase continues. This has been a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.